Yeah, no, I can definitely talk to Isaiah.
Don't worry about it. But I'm full of confidence. That's awesome.
Had fun working. Easter day, like 100% accuracy at the hotel. Jesus, that's really my price. I'm on a reason to ride bikes. Jesus woke up. No, he rose on the third day. So rose up and went to my cried. I was if they had this, I would have had it. There were just two.
Yeah. Who?
Yeah.
Oh, Ballister. Oh, she's Simon.
And then I went up the third day when I realized I was going to work. Yeah.
That's why you oh, no, go back to Hey, Doug. Doug, can you look Doug? You're in the QR.
I was getting that fat.
Thank you.
You could see
Is
yeah, we could only hope.
Alright.
Someone's better.
Push the tables forward.
I don't think I did.
That's fine. But I was like, yeah, we can program for acting. I'm like, oh, yes, it's
You're not gonna say we like.
What do you think of doing the fuck?
no, I know what's a research. Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure because I don't think
That's probably my first one.
No, I kept that.
Oh yeah, right. You wanted to.
No, I forgot about it. That was supposed to be.
there you go.
It's kind of funny.
Where's my seat?
Oh, you moving people around?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Isaiah, that's what you're
Hey,
Why the hell is that my Apple password?
oh my god.
No.
I don't know.
Were you talking trash?
Time 7:02, I call this session of the Whitewater Student Government Order. If you were able to rise on time, if we were safe, like you allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, with that, please call the roll.
Senator Bolt.
Here.
Senator Beasley. Here. Senator Carter.
Here.
Senator Irwin.
Here.
Senator Esterholm.
Here.
Senator Groves.
Here.
Senator Gutzlaff.
Here.
Senator Houston.
Here.
Senator Thomas. Senator Piedwick. Senator Kelleher.
Here.
Senator, sorry, Yuri Kaplis.
Yeah.
Senator Freakin.
Present.
Senator Wenzel.
Present.
Senator Purnell.
Here.
Senator Riebert.
Here.
Senator Reyes.
Here.
Senator Schmidt.
Present.
Senator Wheaton.
Present.
Peter Wilson.
Present. And with that, we move on to special orders. Starting with item A, the Senate oath of office. If you were appointed to a Senate seat last week, you got your signatures verified by the clerk. Please join me right up front.
Yeah.
Given you have been chosen by students of the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater as a senator on this student government, understanding that you have been chosen to perform such an active and important role, do you accept the position of senator and all the responsibilities, duties, and privileges it will include? If so, say I will to the best of my ability.
I will to the best of my ability.
Repeat after me. I state your names.
I, Courtney Majors,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to fulfill the obligations and responsibilities of my office,
to fulfill the obligations and responsibilities of my office,
to be knowledgeable of
to be knowledgeable of
and uphold the WSG Constitution,
and uphold the WSG Constitution,
the WSG standing rules,
the WSG standing rules,
and university policy,
and university policy,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, it is my pleasure to welcome you all the newest senator of the Whitewater Student Government. All right, wonderful. And with that, we are on to item B, appointment of one Esker District seat. Is there anyone in the gallery tonight interested in running for an Esker District? For once, for twice, seeing none, with that, we are on item B, appointment of one Drumlin District seat. Is there anyone in the gallery tonight interested in running for a Drumlin District? Going once, going twice, seeing none, with that, we are on item D, appointment of one off-campus district seat. Is there anyone in the gallery tonight interested in running for an off-campus district seat? Once, twice, seeing none, with that, we are on to the appointment of two Rock County district seats. Is there anyone in the gallery tonight interested in running for a Rock County district seat? Going once, going twice, seeing none, with that, we are on to guest speakers, of which we have none, so we are on to approval of the agenda and minutes, starting with the minutes from April 14th, 2025. Can I get a motion to amend or approve? Senator Holt?
Motion to amend, or approve. Approve.
Second, looking for a second. Seconded by Senator Beasley. Can I get a voice vote? Any opposed? Going once, going twice, seeing none. With that, the minutes from April 14th, 2025 have been approved unanimously. With that, we're on to item B, the agenda for April 21st, 2025. Can I get a motion to amend or approve? Senator Majors.
Motion to approve.
Seconded by Senator Carter. Can I get a voice vote?
Acclamation.
Any opposed? Once, twice, seeing none. With that, the agenda for April 21st, 2025 has been approved unanimously. And if I could have one moment for you all, we have two emeritus members in our presence right now. One of them is Director Emeritus Dave McNeely. One of them is SUFAC Chair Emeritus Matt Schwann. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, gentlemen. With that, we are on to student issues and concerns. Are there any student issues and concerns in the gallery tonight on any issue not on the agenda? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none. With that, we're on to reports, starting with external committee reports, of which we have none, of which we are on to item B, internal committee reports, of which we have none, on to C, officer reports, starting with the report of our president, Mr. Douglas Allen Brown.
Good evening. A couple important things to note for this week. I have a shared governance meeting tomorrow, and then it's the UW-Whitewater Foundation Board meeting and Traditions Day, all day Friday. That's what I want to share, but if the speaker will allow, I'd like everybody to take their phones out or take your laptop out. You should have received an email on Saturday. Saturday was it?
Saturday.
With your invite to the gala. So please take a few seconds here to RSVP. Students are free. Make sure you RSVP for yourself or folks that you are bringing, some family, friends, or whatnot. Don't RSVP for any other people. But I want to yield my time so that folks can RSVP to the gala.
Okay, let's all take a moment. As President Bradley has yielded some time, if you'd like to RSVP. All righty. Any questions for President Bradley? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none. With that, we are on the report of Vice President Mark Bay.
All right, good evening, y'all. Hope everybody had an excellent weekend. If you got to make it back home, or if you stayed here, hope you had an excellent weekend too. For this week, goal is to reach out to a few emeritus members. We see a few in the room. I'll probably be chatting with you after. But to get a group together to work on the Senate scholarship that will be sent out for the gala. Obviously, continue to plan the gala, and then several It's On Us initiatives will be happening this week. We have one that is for tomorrow, the White Ribbon campaign, I believe it is, and then various other ones throughout the week. If anybody's interested in tabling or helping out with that, please see myself or Director Smith. And if you have any questions, I would yield to Director Smith regarding those activities. If you took the oath today, please see me after. And if you need a binder, see me after as well. And last but not least, you should have received an email, or will most likely receive one tonight, regarding the Senator of the Year nomination. Did everybody receive that?
They have not received, still received.
Absolutely. So if you could take a second, I would like everyone in the room to fill that out later on tonight, once that's sent out, please. And with that, I'll give you my report.
Wonderful. Any questions from Vice President? Once, seeing none, with that, we're on to our advisors. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hi, old heads. Glad you're here. I don't feel so old when you are. Appreciate all y'all. Couple quick things. If you signed up 2 weeks ago that you needed transportation to go to Rock County next Monday, please meet out by lot 12A. We will be leaving at 5 o'clock. If you are a person who is willing to drive, please meet there, because you will pick up randomly selected people as we will disperse and not assign anybody, as I discussed last meeting. And then I still need I just want to confirm the authorized drivers after the meeting tonight, because we will have 2 vans that are provided by the university, because the bus fee was ridiculous. Matt will be happy to hear this is almost $1,000, so we are taking vans. With that, just know which category you're in. Let's meet in 12A. You can stay in your vehicle. Come find me. We'll get everybody to Rock in time for your brief tour, which is what you're starting with, but I don't want to steal the speaker's updates. The other piece that I would say is that if anyone is interested in probably completing their contact hours for the rest of the semester with students, I would encourage you to sign up for Make a Difference Day. It's this Friday. If you're interested in signing up for a project, there's still a few slots left that are open, predominantly on campus in the campus memory garden. That starts at 11, which is different than 9 o'clock. So if you want to get up early on that Friday, would encourage you to sign up through Connect. If you have a problem signing up, please just send me an email and I can administratively add you. It's this Friday from 9 until 2, unless you sign up for the memory garden, that's 11 to 1. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield to questions.
Well, any questions for our advisor tonight? Senator Bolt?
Where would lot 12A be located specifically?
It's the metered lot, or the sign that you can, it's the one closest to the University Center. What? 12A, yep, is the little one. It's where you can it's like kind of a circle drive, kind of, sort of.
In
Right
between McGraw and...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none. With that, we are on e-board reports. Starting with reporter academic Thursday. Happy Rush.
Good evening, everyone. So last week I had the first strategic action plan meeting for career services. In that meeting, there was interim provost Robin Fox, Josh Reed, who's the director, the entire career services staff, and the student advisory board. It was really productive. We have 2 main tasks before the next meeting in May that we're assigned to complete. The first one is to look at the career services departments of other universities, and then the other one is to add on to the SWOT analysis, which, for those of you that don't know what that is, that's a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. So we'll put those in, and then we'll come back and talk about it at the next one. I also had a meeting with Jenny, and there I was talking about the new student seminar curriculum. I was putting together awards for instructor awards. And then this week, I have faculty senate, an advising strategic action plan meeting, and then I'm finishing things related to instructor awards, which are next Tuesday at 4 p.m. in the UC Old Main Ballroom, which is just right across from here. So with that, I yield to any questions.
Any questions for our academic affairs? Once? Twice? Seeing none. Wonderful. With that, we are on the report of our director of student affairs. Mr. Joe Balsker.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry for no report in the packet today. So last week, last week I met with Kristen and Sarah regarding a potential application project. Had a one-on-one meeting with Vice President Bain, and held my regular check-ins with Terry and Fabio regarding housing and dining. This week is going to be our bi-weekly student affairs meeting with Christian and Frank. I'm also going to be having the internal student affairs committee, which is going to be on Friday, the 25th at 2 p.m., room 260. And I'm also going to have my weekly check-ins with Terry and Fabio. So I yield my report.
Questions for Dr. Boucher? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none, with that we're on the report of Zaid Khan, Associate Director of Academic Affairs. Student Affairs, my God.
All right, good evening, everyone. Happy Easter. I hope everyone had a great Easter. Last week I had a one-on-one with Vice President Bain, and I read the food waste statistics. This week I'm meeting with dining. I'm doing It's On Us tabling, and I'm attending the SUPAC meeting, as well as a bi-weekly meeting with Kristen Philhauer and Frank Bartlett for student affairs, as well as having the internal student affairs committee meeting. And I yield to my report.
Wonderful. Any questions for Director Khan? Senator Bolt?
Where can we find those food waste statistics?
I can forward that to you.
That would be great.
All right.
Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none, wonderful. With that, we're on the report of our Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, Ron Smith.
Hey everyone, I wasn't expecting to be here today, but I was able to make it in time. So glad to be here. Last week, as you know, I had City Council. I met with first-year experience about initiatives to educate incoming students about voting. This week is It's On Us week, the big week we've been waiting for. It truly, genuinely starts tomorrow. T-shirts will be available. UHCS will be tabling in the library, as well as some of our senators. So thank you to everyone who's volunteering this week. It really means a lot. I will also be meeting with the Hawk Card office this week to chat about voter ID access and more initiatives regarding that. And we're also working on a Warhawks Vote restructure to remodel some of the ways that we approach voter preparation. As always, if you're interested in getting involved with the City Commission or Board or the League of Women's Voters, please reach out. I'm more than happy to get you set up. I yield to my report.
Any questions for Director Smith? Once? Twice? Seeing none, with that, we're on the report of our Director of Communications, Paige London.
Good evening, y'all. I hope everyone had a lovely Easter weekend. Last week, I made some graphics for Director Reiser for the Instructor Awards, met with Clerk West to brainstorm video ideas for our TikTok platform, made a few more graphics for the month of April, and this week, I'll be having a one-on-one with Vice President Bain, making more Instructor Award programs for Director Reiser, filming more TikToks with Clerk West, and then meeting with my committee, so check your emails, PR today. Now you have any questions?
Any questions for Director Lemon? Once? Twice? Seeing none. With that, we are on to the report of our WSG clerk, Susie West.
Hey, all the elections for last week, so thank you to everyone who helped with that. The committee met on Friday, and the unofficial results will be shown later. Otherwise, this week, it's not as busy for myself. I'm gonna go to the It's On Us stuff and make a difference day. And other than that, I yield.
Any questions for Madam Clerk? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none, with that, we're on to Senate Parliamentarian, Blake Early.
Last week was a fairly quiet week. The main thing I did was serve on the Elections Committee. You'll be hearing about the results of that later. And I really don't have anything else to, oh, and I advise senators, that is something I want to mention. If you have legislation, we're quickly approaching the end of the year, so I would strongly recommend that if you have an idea percolating, you speak to relevant stakeholders this week. So if there's anything you want to get accomplished, you can see what avenues are available to it, and if one of those avenues is legislation, you can get something on the floor as quick as possible. And with that, I yield to my non-existent report.
Any questions for Parliamentarian Early? Once? Twice? Seeing none, with that, we're on the report of our Deputy Speaker, Nick Patrice.
Happy Monday, everyone. I just want to remind you all that the instructor awards are April 29th, and that will declare a mandatory event. So unless you have emailed me or planned to email me, I would expect you to be there. If you can't be there, just let me know. With that, I yield.
Any questions for Deputy Speaker Petrinus? I have one. Is it true that for the Academic Affairs Committee, there was a calendar invite sent and it would help not only letting the Deputy Speaker know if you can't arrive, but also responding to that calendar invite with a yes or no would help? Is that true, Mr. Deputy Speaker?
It is true, it would help, but I'm not going to look at that unless you also send me an email. So if you can do both, that would be great.
Send an email, folks. With that, we're on to my report. Not much, but I will say, Senator of the Year is in all of your binders, in your wonderful standing rules. If you go to the very back, there's a section called Awards and Honors. You can take a look there. Under there is Senator of the Year. Tonight, I will be sending out an email. That will be a Google form that will have, wonderfully made by the Vice President, might I add, that will have the names of countless senators who you worked for some of you countless semesters with, and for others of you just a short time. But please put down the folks that you think are most deserving of the title of Senator of the Year, and they will be awarded such a title at this year's WSG Gala. Are there any questions on that in particular? All right, wonderful. You'll also get an email tomorrow morning about the kind of official reminder of what next week's Rock County meeting looks like. Times that you need to be in specific places will probably say the WSG office or the South Mall. Everyone know what the South Mall is? Wonderful. All right, with that, I yield to any questions. Going once, going twice. Seeing none, with that, we're on unfinished business, of which we have none, and then we're on to new business, starting with R242508, resolution honoring the service of American Esther. Madam Clerk. Giving anyone a trap in.
I first wanted to say, I know it's weird for a clerk to be submitting something, but one reason I am is because Kerrigan is one of my roommates, if you don't know. And she joined the org a little over a year ago, and I remember I was so excited when she joined because we just decided to live in William together. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's someone I can talk to, like about the org, and I can live with her. It was so cool. But I will read the two bottom lines. So therefore, be it resolved, the Whitewater student government expresses its sincere appreciation for the dedication and exemplary, I'm sorry, I'm so bad, work ethic demonstrated by Kerrigan Esther Montero for tenure. And therefore, be it finally resolved, the Whitewater student government formally honors Kerrigan Esther Holm for her service to the Whitewater student government and the student body of the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and wishes her continued success in all future endeavors. And if you read through the rest of the bill, it basically goes on about how she has been such an opening spirit in the org, and all new members usually look towards her because she loves to welcome others, and also she has very strong opinions that she loves to share, and she loves sharing them at 1 a.m. just let But with that, I yield.
Wonderful. With that, we'll move into questions. Any questions going once, going twice? Seeing none, with that, we'll move into content changes. I do have one content change. I would like to amend to add Vice President Parker Bain, if possible, his request to the agenda. Is there anyone who's interested in seconding that? Oh, to sponsoring that? Senator Wheaton? Second. Wonderful. Can I get a voice vote?
Acclamation.
Any opposed? Going once, going twice, seeing none, it has been made unanimously. Any other content changes? And once, and twice, seeing none. With that, we'll move on to clerical edits. Are there any clerical edits tonight? And once, and twice, seeing none. With that, we'll move on to discussion. Is there any discussion? We'll start with Senator Reed.
I'd just like to say without WSG and Kerrigan joining the Senate, we wouldn't have the friendship that we have today. And we'll miss you in this org and in the body, but I know our friendship will forever continue. I'm excited for your future, but I'm just have to see you.
I'm very sad to see Senator Esterholm leaving the Senate. I've noticed throughout my time here that most senators will find throughout their time another senator who shares a certain idea with them and they just click and they spend so much of their time and energy talking about that idea. Senator Esterholm was the first person I experienced that with right after she joined the Senate. It was on non-traditional students. And I'll be very sad that we won't get to experience working like that together on a project for very much longer. Senator Esterholm has very clearly shown what it means to be a senator throughout her time on the Senate. She has been tireless despite a pretty heavy requirements to become a teacher. And yes, because of her exemplary service, I think she is very well deserving of this honoring, and I'm sure the entire org will be very sad to see you leave and very grateful for the time you spent here.
I think that the work you do to build a community in this organization is incredibly admirable and has impacted everyone who's been through the organization or is still here in your time here. And I hope you know that you've had that direct positive impact on so many people.
Senator Bull?
It's gonna really suck that you won't really be in office a lot if you come to visit, which please do. I just know that when I'm sitting at that desk and there's someone approaching it, it's Kerrigan, I'm like, it's gonna be a good day today. So make time for us if you can. I know that teaching is gonna be a lot, but you can do it.
For those of you who don't know, I was away for a bit last year, and I only kept in contact with a few folks from the organization. And I read the agendas every time, and on the Monday night that Senator Esterholm had been appointed, I called her immediately and said, I think you're a great fit for this body. I think you're going to serve the body very well. I'm super proud to say that I think you've done that in an exemplary sense, and I think something we oftentimes don't give enough credit to in this organization is the presence that people can have, not only on Monday nights, but throughout the entire week. And I think you have been continuously a beacon of positivity and open conversation in the WSG office, around the WCC, and I think it's going to be hard for people to not picture your presence in that office long after you're gone. So thank you. Any other discussion tonight? Senator Roger?
I just want to second.
Recognize.
I just want to second what everyone's been saying about your presence in the office. You're in there a lot when I'm in there, and you've even taught me things when you've brought me a concern and have made me look at things different. So I just want to say thank you for that and your advocacy for other people as well. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none. With that, we'll move into a roll call vote. A vote of aye will obviously be a vote in favor, a vote of nay will be a vote against. Madam Clerk, when you are ready, please call the roll.
Senator Bolt.
Aye.
Senator Beasley. Aye. Senator Carter.
Aye.
Senator Irwin.
Aye.
Senator Esterholm. Aye. Senator Gross. Senator Gutzoff.
Aye.
Senator Houston.
Aye.
Senator Kelleher.
Aye.
Senator Kurikopoulos. Aye. Senator Majors. Aye. Senator Patricus.
Aye.
Senator Punzel.
Aye.
Senator Purnell.
Aye.
Senator Raybert.
Aye.
Senator Reyes.
Aye.
Senator Schmidt.
Aye.
Senator Wheaton.
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Aye.
Senator Gross.
For honoring. Oh, aye.
Wonderful. And with that, resolution R 242508 honoring the service of Kerrigan Esterholm has passed unanimously.
pieces, but so I wrote it down, so my apologies. I've been so lucky to get to know every single person in this org, part of this body. Every single one of you is so different, and that's been such a cool experience for me to kind of see how each person kind of takes like the legislation process, how seriously some of you take it, and then how some of you are here to learn, which is also really cool. And then every relationship that I've made in this org, I will definitely take with me as I go and hopefully, possibly in a positive way, impact the next generation. So that's all I have to say.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right. Wonderful. With that, we will move on to item 2I. How do you say that? R242509. Resolution honoring the service of Jack Fadden. I'm going to have to squeeze out here. I think I'm just going to move this table.
Maybe all of you can just push forward a little bit.
I'm also officially passing the gavel to Deputy Speaker Patridas after this whole was figured out.
If we set up the.
Howdy, folks. Cool. So, in realizing that there are some folks who need to be recognized, one of the first people who popped into my mind is the speaker before me, Jack Fadden. He was a wonderful guy to get to work with the time I did. He was parliamentarian when I first showed up, and one of the first faces who welcomed me into the body, I would say Max Gervais, Justin Westlick, Will Hins, and himself were the first people who kind of smiled at me and made me feel like I wasn't in a room that was a bit awkward to be in, or of two big grown-ups after I was out of high school. So we wanted to put this together to honor some of the work he's done in a couple various positions. So at the start, Jack Fadden selflessly served the student body in numerous positions, most notably Speaker of the Senate, Chairman of the Segregated University Fee Allocation Committee. He was also a peer mentor on campus his third semester here as well. And the last line, I'll read now. The Whitewater Student Government hereby formally honors and thanks Mr. Jack Fadden for his service to the student body through his work on the Segregated University Fee Allocation Committee, the non-alcohol leadership team, and the Whitewater Student Government, and wishes him the same success. His dedication to others brought him through his tenure with the Whitewater Student Government. So Jack is an absolutely wonderful human. His kindness radiates through him. His ability to do something that I oftentimes struggle with and speak last and stay reserved when it matters most is something I really admire about Jack. The way he carried this body is a way that I really look up to. So Jack, if you're watching this recording, you're the best. With that, I yield to questions. Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Are there any questions for the submitter? Seeing none, we'll move into content changes or any content changes. Are there any clerical edits? I have two. The second full, no. Fourth, whereas, we need a and comma at the end, and then the therefore be it finally resolved should just be therefore be it resolved. I need unanimous consent to make those changes. Any opposed? Seeing none. Any other clerical changes? Seeing none, I'll move into discussion. We'll start with parliamentarian Erwin.
Similarly to Speaker Wilson, Speaker Fadden was the first person I met when I was coming into the org, when he was the Speaker of the Senate. He is the one who first explains what it means to be a senator, how the org functions, and it was him who inspired me to eventually run for his position on Senate leadership. So I will be very grateful to Speaker Fadden. Like so many others, he shaped my future in the org, and I will always be very grateful to him for that.
Senator Carter?
Yeah, Speaker Fadness was the speaker when I first joined back in fall of '23. And when I took my leave of absence and that, he was the first person to reach out and just make sure everything was okay and everything like that. In my opinion, Jack deserves this. I mean, I've known Jack through Greek life. He's currently serving as the vice president of the Tau Kappa Epsilon fraternity and that. But yeah, Jack is definitely deserves this.
Senator Punzel?
So while I may not have ever met Mr. Jack Fatness, from what you guys are saying, he was an awesome man. And honestly, reading his accomplishments, almost kind of wondering, why did we not recommend him for emeritus? These are some extremely noteworthy accomplishments that very few senators are actually able to achieve. If anything, I feel like this award should be upgraded to emeritus status and not just honoring him.
That's the purview of the body, so if anyone feels that that should be bestowed, I would encourage you to make a motion to amend the resolution. As is our process.
Senator Punzel?
I move to amend this resolution to change it from honoring Mr. Jack Fatness to making him an emeritus member.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Seconded by Senator Beasley. Moving to discussion on this amendment. Chairman Emeritus Schweiner, if you have any insights.
Yeah, well, thanks everyone for allowing me to speak today. Just want to share a few thoughts on Mr. Fadness. Dating myself now, but going back 2 or 3 years now, I had the pleasure of serving as the chairman for 2 years and the vice chairman for 1 year at SUFAC. But you know, kind of going back to Jack, I think he definitely carried himself in a way that, as Isaiah so eloquently put it, or Mr. Speaker put it, you know, often was last to speak. So a lot of, you know, Jack had a great impact on this campus, and obviously you go back to the Advancement Act that we worked on, and you know, I would always argue that the second year of that act was actually more work than the first year, because we had a lot of loose ends to tie up there, from the weight room and dealing with the auditorium and all those areas that we changed so drastically. Going to the point of, and I promise I will be done speaking soon here, but going to the point of the emeritus, you know, I think that it's definitely a very reasonable amendment to make for Mr. Fadness, but I also would question the body. And I would ask you what his most significant accomplishment was and what that impact is today. I think oftentimes that is the question that I would pose if I was voting on such a matter of emeritus. And if you can list those, I think that's great. You might not be able to. And I'm not discouraging the vote for it, but I would just ask yourself what those are and to proceed after thinking carefully about that and not just rushing into making someone emeritus because it sounds like a good idea right now. So with that, I yield.
Thank you so much for that. Advisor
This is not answering Mr. Schreiner's, I had my placard up earlier. This is kind of creepy of what you said, what I'm saying. One of the things that I would attribute to Jack is a very cool head in the face of people questioning process consistently and very fairly. But I also would share that there were several very late night opportunities for him to share his leadership and do all his number crunching in significant ways that supported the changes that happened with parking. And that whole battle. That was a joint, I would say very much, and I think those that were around then would agree. It was a joint effort of not only Emeritus Director, did I say even the right word? Emeritus Director Jordan Robinson and former President Izzo, but there was a great deal of work that was done there that typically speakers would not have been involved with. So That was just all I was gonna share with someone, who was there then. So, Mr. Speaker, I yield.
Parliamentarian Arnold?
As I said in the earlier comments on Speaker Fadness, I'm sorry, I need to. Point of order, content changes had closed before the amendment was moved, so we are not able to consider the motion to amend it to emeritus status.
A motion was made and was seconded, which can be done at really any time.
But content changes had closed.
So the motion was made and it was seconded.
Point of order. You can revisit it if a motion's made to reopen content changes.
That precedence is set, as that's not how you all have done it, pardon me. But yes, or you could do what your old hat tells you.
The way I interpreted it and the way I am running this is that a motion was made during discussion to make this bill into emeritus occur. Motion was seconded. We are in discussion on that motion. If the motion passes, it would be passed by a 2/3 majority. It's my turn to talk though. I'm very fortunate for the time I spent with Speaker Fadness, or former Speaker Fadness, Jack, right? He was in New York before me and spent a lot of time working together. However, I think emeritus is a step above, and I don't know if I can point to anything in particular he did that is I don't know how I can really politely say this. I'm very thankful for the time I spent with Jack. Speaker Wilson, I hear you have something.
I quite like the time I spent with Jack. To put it simply, I think emeritus status has had so many silly conversations. And this is the way I really feel right now. And I'm sure maybe the body would move into discussion, and the chair is more than willing to say, Isaiah, this is discussion that is not on this matter whatsoever. So, Mr. Chair, if that's what you'd like to say, you're more than welcome. But I think in terms of as long as I've been around, emeritus status has been seen in a couple different ways. And the way I see it right now is it confers you the ability to be recognized when you walk into a room, confers you the ability to maybe keep office access or maybe speak during a meeting, whatever it may be. But I think more than that, the way it's really looked at is a thank you and a longevity for the folks who've been around a long time. And maybe it would be against the spirit of the way it was written to give it to Jack Fadness. But I encourage the body to vote aye. I think that's what emeritus is now.
Parliamentary Arnold, do you have something?
I would. Now that the standing rules questions have been resolved, I would like to return to that. Speaker Fadness did have a notable time in the Senate. As I mentioned, he formed the Senate careers of many people and e-board careers of many people in the org. I think it would be fair to say that he shaped each member of Senate leadership's journey to Senate leadership, many of the e-board's journeys onto the e-board and through the e-board. So he was a significant figure who is well deserving of honoring, but emeritus status is meant to confer exceptional service, not just exemplary. So while Speaker Fadness was very notable, I would caution the Senate on voting aye for this amendment. I'll add that on this piece of legislation are many of the people who worked closest with Speaker Fadness while he was speaker, including that, and they felt that the best thing for this was a honoring resolution, and I don't know if we should be second guessing all of these listed notables who spent so much time with Speaker Fadness and were so close with him. And I'll finally round off by saying that we can give emeritus to very few people every academic year, and that there are few other people in the running. And since the submitters of this ledge didn't feel that it should be emeritus, I would encourage the body to keep it as it is and vote nay on the amendment to make it emeritus.
Senator Beekman?
Personally, I think, and as someone who wrote and helped with some emeritus bills in the past, honoring bills are used to show honor and thanks from the org to them. Emeritus bills are more directed to the legacy of change of the work that the person did, and I feel that the work, though it was good work, it wasn't, I just don't feel like it unfortunately earned the title of emeritus, but honoring is something that we can do to show that we appreciate their work and will continue the work. So, I don't know.
Senator Keller?
I guess I would pose the question to those who knew Jack Fadness. We're talking about like their lasting impact. What was that thing that they did that had the most impact? I guess I would question the body, but especially those who knew them. What did Director Robinson or Emeritus Westlake or Emeritus Member Schweinert, what were those lasting impacts that had such a big effect that earned emeritus status, which Senator Fadness did not reach, I guess I would say.
It's a great question, yeah, Senator Keller. I think, to speak to a couple of the names you mentioned, Speaker Emeritus Westlake was, in his half-decade of service to the university, not a joke, appointed to several system boards. The Governor Evers appointed him to the Board for Disability Concerns. He was a part of President Emeritus. I'm not going to be able to get Davin's last name right. Stavropoulos. Director Emeritus McNeely and Chair Emeritus Schweinert were a part of establishing the non-allocable leadership team, which now allows for student representation in reestablishing the way it is practiced here, allowing more student representation to be given for student dollars and department resources. I think if your question is how are we measuring those people against former Speaker Fadness, I don't think he measures up. But I just said just a moment ago that I don't know, I think emeritus is like, this is kind of what it is now.
Senator Punzo?
So, hearing from majority of the Senate, which is like 5 people, I would like to state that some of his efforts are still being felt to this day, like his reforms with campus parking. While I may not know what it was beforehand, clearly it wasn't good enough and it needed to be reformed. Something that a speaker typically wouldn't get involved with. Also, another thing too is he also had direct impact on the student body as well, being a peer mentor, helping shape the next generation of campus students. And that is what we're all about, helping the student body out and helping develop a better campus for students.
Chairman Emeritus Schweiner, if you want to end this off here.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up a great point, but the question I would pose back to the body is, do we just hand this out to everyone that has an impact on students? It's a fair question, right? There's a lot of things that you can do as a student on this campus that will have impacts for a long time, right? But is it just one thing? Or is it 10 things? Or is it 5 things? fair question. I mean, and when you think about activities outside of student government, I think those are great, right? You can be a peer mentor, you can be a U leader, you can be an RA, as I was, right? And have immeasurable impact across campus, right? But is there something specifically in student government that an individual does, or multiple things, that warrants the status of an emeritized, right? And I can tell you that as one of the co-founders of the emeritized status, or co-writers, I guess you could say, our intention was not just for, you know, a few achievements, or someone to be present, or someone to have a little bit of impact on campus, for them to earn that title, right? But fortunately for you all, it's your interpretation that matters tonight. And that's, I will yield to my final point about Mr. Badness.
Wilson.
I could also have one point that the body should recognize, and the chair is more than welcome to call me out of order for maybe again speaking on something that is not directly being posed here. But I also think if we're going to confer merit status, I believe the way the amendment was phrased was emeritus member. We'd have to be ready as a body to decide whether or not it's going to be senator emeritus or speaker emeritus, and we'd also have to be ready to, as a body, probably change the final, therefore be finally resolved to reflect emeritus status as well. So, and the titles would also have to be changed. So just some things that the body would have to be ready for if you're going to vote on.
12.5 for those of you who are following along at home.
So now that we've heard from the final and then the final discussion, I'll do the final discussion, and I would encourage you all to keep the bill as written and vote nay on this amendment. With that, Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Point of inquiry, can you clarify what we're voting on at this moment?
So you're voting on the amendment to make Jack Fennis an emeritus member. Vote of aye is to adopt that amendment. Vote of nay is to not. Bradley, do you have a point of inquiry or a point of procedure?
Perhaps a clarification or request or something to keep in mind for the body. If this were to pass, I'd be looking for a motion to remove my name from the piece of legislation.
Madam Clerk, could you please call roll on the amendment? Vote of aye is to adopt emeritus status, and vote of nay is to not do that.
Senator Beasley?
Nay.
Senator Carter?
Nay.
Senator Irwin?
Nay.
Senator Esterholm?
Nay.
Senator Groves?
Nay.
Senator Gussoff?
Nay.
Senator Houston?
Nay.
Senator Kelleher?
Nay.
Senator Curie Populus?
Nay.
Senator Majors?
Nay.
Senator Petricus?
Nay.
Senator Punzel?
Aye.
Senator Purnell?
Nay.
Senator Rivers? Senator Reyes?
Nay.
Senator Schmidt?
Nay.
Senator Wheaton?
Nay.
Speaker Wilson?
The spirit of rebranding in mind, nay. Aye. My God. Nay.
In vote of 2 to 17, the amendment fails. Now we go back to discussion on the original bill.
One whole bill.
On the original discussion. The current bill, as you've seen probably with some clerk on it. President Bradley?
Jack Fadness is one of the best guys you will meet in your life. And it's true, he was very quiet, as some folks mentioned, but it's because he really valued listening. was always making up his mind and making sure he was going to make a decision that was best for all of his constituents and not himself. And he was instrumental to many changes directors made last year, most notably parking. He did essentially all of the calculations of the data we were collecting. I can't think of anybody more deserving for a resolution honoring their service. He's, when I look back, somebody who was very welcoming to me and I always have held in high regard, and I would urge you to vote aye on this bill, because he is more than deserving and is a titan of the organization.
I just want to restate that Speaker Fadness was held the highest office in the Senate for over a year, successfully presided over dozens of Senate meetings, and as I said, shaped so many of the student government careers in the body, and thus has every right and more than a right to be honored in this way tonight. So I would encourage you all to vote aye.
I don't think there is anything else to be said about Speaker Fadness that hasn't been said already. I mean, I've my first few weeks of student government, I was like kind of still trying to figure things out, and I knew right away he was like a really true leader and someone who really wanted to help others succeed. And I also would want to go to mention that even though the motion to emeritus member has failed, I definitely feel like that should be still up for discussion in the future, and as a Senate, as a body, we should still keep that discussion in mind and maybe revisit it in the future, because I do feel like a lot of his accomplishments that we have listed have been nothing minor. So I just want to keep that in mind.
Any final discussion on this bill? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. On this, I vote aye. This is on the bill itself, on whether or not to approve the bill. So I vote aye. There's an aye on the bill, another nay is a nay on the bill.
Senator,
Whenever you're ready.
Senator Carter,
Aye.
Senator Irwin,
Aye.
Senator Esterhol,
Aye.
Senator Gross,
Aye.
Senator Gutzoff,
Aye.
Senator Houston,
Aye.
Senator Kelleher,
Aye.
Senator Kurikopoulos,
Aye.
Senator Majors,
Aye.
Senator Patricus,
Aye.
Senator Funzel,
Aye.
Senator Fennell,
Aye.
Senator Reber,
Aye.
Senator Reyes,
Aye.
Senator Schmidt,
Aye.
Senator Wheatman,
Aye.
Speaker Wilson,
Aye.
Senator Wool,
Aye.
and Senator Beasley. Aye.
And then with a unanimous vote, this bill is passed.
All righty. If I would, I'm going to give Mr. Zimmerman from the back a chance to speak on the behalf of Jack Fadness.
Thanks. Jack couldn't be here tonight. He had something come up last minute, family and school related. So he just wanted me to say that he greatly appreciates the resolution, and he's grateful for the opportunities he would have had within the org. It was very beneficial and valuable time for him. He was glad he was able to make a positive impact on so many people. He wishes everyone well, and on a personal note, knowing Jack, he would have found this discussion about emeritus and everything quite spirited and engaging. So I don't feel like you are offending him, I think, by the conversation. I think it's a good one to have, and I think he would have shown more chance. So just sharing a few words on behalf of Jack. So, thanks.
You still can. If you're watching, Jack, it's good to see you. All righty. With that, we are on to our 24-25-10 resolution honoring the service of Nicole Coombs.
This really drives me crazy that it's not set up right.
All right, well, hi, my name's Chase. You started talking 2 seconds ago. I have the pleasure to work with Nicole on SUFAC, and there's a lot of really great things in this bill, and we can read through it. But the most important thing about Nicole that I want to share is she is not afraid to express her opinion. when it matters. And she's not afraid to be the odd duck out in a room when there's something that we're talking about and everybody is saying one thing, she'll be the one to say, I don't think that's right, it doesn't sit well with me. Her integrity, her tenacity to have the right decision made for students is something that I mean, as a chairman of something, I feel greatly appreciated to have someone in this space that is able to make such a positive change. But as a person too, I know that whatever you go on to, you're gonna be as set in stone with your values and your morals, and your ability to find the right answer, even when we're wading through miles of just gray area and horrifying budgets and everything nonetheless. And so I think, and I'll let you say a few things too and read through the bill, but there's not enough pages to put in how much work Nicole has done, having served on SUFAC for as long as she has, and in the role and as passionate and transformational in New York she's been able to do. I think it's incredible, and it's also worth pointing out, I'm sorry if I'm stealing a lot of your thunder, but she, rather than just supporting the students of her college, which is what most folks do that's why you're on SUFAC. You represent all students, but ultimately you're there to show a diverse perspective of the college you serve on campus. She's able to represent every student. She sees the perspectives of business students. She sees the perspective of all students. And she embraces it all and recognizes its importance, all during the study process. So, yeah, I'll yield to Nick because I can talk all day.
I've been on SUFAC for 2 years now, and Nicole has been vice chair for those whole 2 years, except for the short time she was vice chair of education outreach, but we won't.
Got bumped up. Thanks, Jack Badness.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so jumping from when I was on SUFAC to when I was on both SUFAC and NELT, Nicole's just been such a great voice to have in those rooms, especially in NELT when we're having conversations about different departments, theater, music, the young. She's able to bring like such a valuable perspective that no one else in that room had. And then in SUFAC, there was a meeting last week. Or
every meeting.
Every meeting.
But last
week, I think we had to do a roll call vote, and Nicole was, I think, the only no.
I think she was the only
one. The only one. Regardless, that's important. That's something we need, right? We need someone who's going to say, no, that's wrong. I don't believe it. I don't support this. I don't stick to my guns. And that's Nicole. It's going to be really tough next year on SUFAC without her. Not a lot of people actually, but
I'll jump in there real quickly. There are some folks tonight who are getting appointed, or who might, my assumption they might get appointed, obviously, it's been voted on, but who might be appointed to SUFAC. And I would encourage you to go talk to Nicole sometime, look her up, send her an email, because she can teach you how to say no when you feel like you need to say no, because there has been for far too long too many yes people on SUFAC, and we need a lot more folks who are willing to fight for what they believe is right and willing to hold people, administrators, and students, and everybody involved accountable for the work that they do. So, just pointing that out there too. Do you want to read through just Okay, so I'll read through, sorry. I'm going to read through just a couple statements that I think are really powerful in here. Otherwise, I'll keep talking all day. So, the third whereas, or the fourth whereas Nicole Coons dedicated her service to the students of the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, representing the College of Arts and Communications on SUFAC, but most notably, as a two-term vice chair of SUFAC. And whereas, and I'm going to jump a little bit here, Ms. Coons brought a fresh and vital perspective to deliberations as an arts and communications student, ensuring that the unique needs of the departments such as theater, music, and the young were thoughtfully represented in funding decisions. And this is the last one, or two last ones. The other recognizing Ms. Coons was a steadfast advocate for the responsible and strategic allocation of segregated fees, ensuring that the resources were utilized effectively and efficiently. I know that the word's not in there, but I would say effectively too. To enrich the campus community and the student experience. And then I'll read the finally. Therefore, be it finally resolved, the Whitewater Student Union formally honors Nicole Coons for her distinguished service to the Segregated University Fee Allocation Committee and to the Whitewater Student Government. And most importantly in this bill, to the students of the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater and wishes her continued success in all future endeavors, confident that her commitment to advocacy will continue to guide her in all that she does. Thank you.
It's beautiful. That was Speaker Vito.
Any questions for this member? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, with that we have a content change. Are there any content changes? Going once, and twice. Seeing none, with that we're on clerk letters. Are there any clerk letters? Going once, and twice. Seeing none, with that we are on to discussion. Is there any discussion? Parliamentarian?
Just want to say, SUFAC is a uniquely challenging and time-consuming committee to serve on. Being a vice chair and helping lead it, even more so. And more difficult than all of that is going against the grain, which is apparently something she does quite well. So I'm very happy that on behalf of the students, we can honor you in this way. And thank you for all the service you have provided to the student body of Whitewater.
I know I never served on SUFAC, but I've known Nicole since my freshman year and she's just a great student who advocates for the people that she works with and hearing from Chairman Zimmerman and Vice Chair Patrikas, she does amazing work and yeah.
Yeah, so I've got the opportunity to work with Nicole for this semester, and I can say that not only is she knowledgeable, but she is very unique in the sense where, you know, she will stand her ground, advocate for the students and our needs and entertainment, you know, so I honestly encourage the vote of aye.
I've been on this campus for a minute or two, which means that I have seen and been part of 4 SUFAC processes now. Both as a student organization leader, but also as a member of this body. And I can say without a doubt that your involvement in the process has made it a lot easier and more accessible for students. And not once have I seen a decision made that didn't have a good reason to back it up and didn't have the betterment of the whole student body in mind. And I think that's something that really deserves to be
Senator
I think especially members and chairs of SUFAC don't get the recognition that they deserve. It's hard, relentless work, especially coming down to the deadlines. So this is definitely well deserved. And again, it just shows the Senate's appreciation and overall the students' body, as we are the voices of the student body here, that we're thankful for your work and we wish you well.
Chairman Schweiner?
Yeah, well, you know, I just have to say that everyone's favorite student government meeting is always the SUFAC presentation. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, well, that meeting might go, well, back in my day, probably around 3 hours, but that is just the culmination of a presentation that, you know, these student leaders spend 2 weeks going through. And that's in the middle of, at least when I was doing it, it was like midterms. I hope they changed that now, perhaps. But, you know, you're spending nights from, I guess it hasn't changed, but yeah, no. So, but I mean, you're there, you know, you start at 3 o'clock and you go till 10 p.m. until they close the building down, you know, for 2 weeks straight. And that is not a fun process. It's hard to juggle a lot of things. And so, as any SUFAC member, especially one that's been serving for 2 years, it sounds like, well deserving of a bill like this.
Wonderful. Sometimes I wish that there were more folks in the note room because your presence in the note, not only is it like normally early in the morning and everyone's a little groggy, and although we love doing this work for students, sometimes it's a little like, oh, I wish I didn't have to get up at 8 in the morning. And you always have a smile, and you're always excited to be there. And you, at one time, you pulled out a little med kit because somebody had a headache, and you had, there's cough drops in there. I mean, you are an amazing presence in the room. There it is. But more than that, you are so good at everyone's good at representing students when it's easy, when the call is this or that. But when it's hard, you consistently perform and do what others just wouldn't take the next step to do. So thank you so much for serving alongside us in the Nolt room. We are so much better. The students are so much better for having had you in that place. Thank you so much, Nicole. I couldn't recommend an I vote strongly enough. Any other discussion? Advice voting.
I would just add is that many students have served on SUFAC and NALT, but Nicole had a unique challenge because she is an intelligent person who had their academic, well, not that you're not. No, but I'm speaking to her ability to be able to serve and stand up for the greater good of the whole campus when it could directly impact her academic area of study and success. And not everybody that I've experienced in this whole time here has had that pressure because of the size of her program and the college in which it is. And so I just want to say, Nicole, that, you know, as another arts lover, I saw your non-self-centered evaluation of some very tough decisions and advocated for students in that program, but also advocated for the students in general. And I want to thank you. Thank you very much for that hard work.
For real, the final comment.
Sorry.
Submitted.
I think this year her perspective was very important. As she was the one student in the Nolt room that did not have student government experience, and was never a member of this body, which is super important to have in that.
With that, Madam Clerk, when you are ready, we will enter a roll call vote. A vote of aye will be a vote in favor of passing. A vote of nay will be a vote against. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you please call the roll?
Senator Irwin.
Aye.
Senator Esmeralda. Aye. Senator Gross. Aye. Senator Gutslaw.
Aye.
Senator Houston.
Aye.
Senator Kellogg.
Aye.
Senator Kirikopoulos. Aye. Senator Majors. Aye. Senator Patricus.
Aye.
Senator Funzel.
Aye.
Senator Brunel.
Aye.
Senator Riebert.
Aye.
Senator Reyes.
Aye.
Senator Schmidt.
Aye.
Senator Wheatman.
Aye.
Senator Stephen Wilson.
Pass.
Senator Bolt.
Aye.
Senator Beasley. Aye. Senator Carter.
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Aye. And with that, R 242510 resolution honoring the service of Nicole Coons has passed unanimously.
All these compliments are so sweet. I will say one or two things. SUFAC has really helped me find a voice here at Whitewater. It's helped me make some tough decisions. I promise I'm not trying to go against everyone else's voice. I promise. But
I think we overemphasize that a little bit. She's not always that right, but that's clear.
that's okay. That's okay. I'm the only one who did want the 7 a.m. meeting. Everyone else was against that one. I'm proud about that one. Anyways, I'm very thankful for everyone who has served on SUFAC and WSG. The small time I've known you all seem like a very lovely bunch of people. And I thank you all for that. And I thank you all for Chase and Nick for considering it. That was very kind. I might cry, but I'll say it later. Okay. Are you coming back up with me? Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you? Wonderful. And before we move on to the next agenda item, we are joined by yet another emeritus member in the room, Speaker Emeritus Justin Wesley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Quite the meeting you've joined tonight, Mr. Speaker. With that, we are on to R 242511, resolution honoring the service of Chase Zimmerman. Submitter, you have the floor.
Alright. When we were thinking of doing bills for people this year, I think this was the first one I started. And the hardest to keep to one page. I like to keep it to one page, so it's just a thing you can stick on your wall and it's not certainly long. Yeah. But I don't know, the formatting was, I'm gonna keep it on formatting, but it was really hard to keep. But this one was really easy to write. Chase was one of, if not the first people I met in student government. He was deputy speaker when I joined, but serving with Chase over the last year on SUFAC has been an invaluable experience. Katie was a great chair. Chase is just that much better.
Yeah, if you ask me what a leader looks like, I would point to the man over there in that corner. He has done amazing work, keeping everyone in SUFAC aligned, teaching them, like everyone on SUFAC is new to every year or like every rotating few years. And Chase is such a welcoming hand to those new members. Answering questions, being laid up at night, answering more questions, it's all questions, I'm so sorry. Even for me, someone who's been serving on the committee for 2 years, Chase outbeats me by so much. And I don't know what this committee would be like without him. I feel like the SUFAC committee and even WSG, even though he's not necessarily serving, has only soared higher since Chase has been invited chair.
I'd like to read some of the bill, if you don't mind. Whereas Chase Zimmerman dedicated his service to the students at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater as chair of SUFAC and convener of the non-eligible leadership team. Whereas Mr. Zimmerman also served students at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater through countless leadership roles, including as a senator, as deputy speaker, recently as vice chair of the elections committee, as mentor to many new members within the Whitewater student government, as well as through campus involvement. As a homecoming chair, you lead co-coordinator, Warhawk Ambassador, as an active member of several organizations. And recognizing Mr. Zimmerman as a trusted source of institutional knowledge, providing guidance on procedures, policy, and precedent that help strengthen collaboration between students, faculty, staff, and the community. And therefore be it resolved that the Whitewater student government, on behalf of the student body of the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, extends its sincere gratitude to Chase Zimmerman for his outstanding leadership, commitment to student advocacy, and lasting contributions to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. And therefore be it finally resolved, the Whitewater student government formally honors Chase Zimmerman for his exceptional service to the segregated university fee allocation committee, to the Whitewater student government, and to the students of the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and wishes him continued success in all future endeavors, confident that his legacy will inspire future generations of leaders.
Wonderful. With that, we'll move on to questions. Are there any questions for the senators? Going once, going twice, seeing none. With that, we'll move on to content changes. Are there any content changes? Going once, going twice, seeing none. With that, we'll move on to clerklets. Are there any clerklets? Going once, going twice, seeing none. With that, we're on to discussion.
I'd actually like to start off.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I would always look forward to in a SUFAC meeting would be Chase sitting there and always getting a hot dog for our howdy. Anytime he started a conversation or like a text to be howdy folks, who does that? Chase Zimmerman does. And I love that about him. Or a hot dog. I love the hot dogs. Hot dog.
Really?
I don't want to go last, so thank you. I didn't put my flag real sooner. I would just share that there are some situations that have been presented to NALTN this year that the NALT committee, I think, has grappled. I'll use that word, maybe. Grappled over. As the elected convener of that group, Chase worked during the summer. He worked over semester break, and he stood on some pretty firm ground with some other people when people were not doing what they were supposed to with their money. And that is holding, a lot of that, many of those. That's not an easy place to be when, I often say, I hate when students say I'm just a student. But when you're in the room with, we'll just say upper leadership, we'll call it that, and calling them to task on their delivery of expectations by the students in a professional manner that is result-driven. I have to say that I've not seen that done with such nimbleness, so much ethics, and so much with students in mind. And I can't speak to everything that Chase has done, although several of those things I was part of, but I think that was a service to students that was exceptional, especially in this past year. So thank you, Chase, for that advocacy, for proper spending, and we'll leave it at that.
Senator Houston.
Yeah, so I've had the pleasure of meeting Chase last semester, and if I could describe him in 2 words, first word would be leadership. He provides outstanding leadership skills, alongside Nicole, and just he's very knowledgeable, and he is also, he's a really great facilitator. He, honestly never ever, sorry, when was that? He definitely stands his ground. He makes sure that Null and SUFAC never sway from its true goal, and kind of balances, representing students on campus and also just sticking to the university rules. And the second word would be humor, because he's very funny, and honestly, he always has a smile on his face, which is like the first thing I've noticed about him. So honestly, nothing but great things to say about him. Definitely in favor of this.
Director Reiser? Vice President Bain? I can't tell. Vice President Bain?
Yes. So I first met Chase. I don't know where I met him, but I don't know where I met him exactly. But one of the first things, one of our first conversations was about WSG. So that's where I first heard about this organization and the great things that everybody does in this room. I think another thing to note too, that wasn't noted a ton before up here, but he served as the convener for our now team, as Jen said. That is not a role that is taken lightly. He's kind of the gentleman that leads the pack with Null. So we had any question about numbers or what the heck's going on. Like, I come to meetings, I have no idea what's going on. Chase, what's going on, man? And he comes in, takes me under his wing, and carries me right to the sunset. But, moving on from that though, I've had the privilege to hang out with him outside of government, more in a social setting. And my God, you cannot get this man to shut up about adults and CPACs. Like, we'll be having a conversation just like about the weather. All of a sudden it's like, oh, so what do you think about null? Or what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to enjoy the weather here. So I think that speaks volumes about his dedication and commitment to his responsibilities. So with all that being said, I'd highly encourage everybody in the room to vote in favor of this.
Sure, Smith.
I've known Chase a long time, so I'm going to talk for a minute. Through the last 4 years, I've had such a privilege of growing alongside Chase through our time in college. We were ULEDs together, for those who don't know. We were in the pink group under 2 great new leaders. And then eventually in WSG, where Chase joined a week before me, and I was very jealous of that. I truly believe that the impact that Chase has had on students through both student government, as well as the SUFAC process, and the growth and curiosity that he models for students are both incredibly impressive. And I'm inspired by his drive to serve students in the best way that he can. I'm certain that throughout these 4 years, Chase has had plenty of opportunities, as have I, to endure hardships and learn from them. Chase is an example of someone who carries his learning with grace in quite an admirable way, and one that I hope to emulate myself. I remember having a conversation with Chase a year or so ago, where he reached out to me to have a discussion about my perspective about campus and campus safety, where he purposely noted that he was asking because our perspectives of campus were very different. Chase has made a point, additionally, to increase SUFAC accessibility to the SUFAC process for all students. He's worked tirelessly to take the things that he's learned and apply them in a way that helps every student. And when I first read this piece of legislation, it was one that granted Chase emeritus status. And I believe that he deserves that, and I would encourage you all to consider him for that. Thank you.
Senator Carter?
Chase has done so much amazing stuff on this campus. I've known Chase as long as probably as Director Smith has. I saw Chase in another leadership position while he was the homecoming chair, and I would go into the office and this guy would have his headphones on and he would just be locked in, ready to work for the students. And that's what he does every single day, no matter if he's SUFAC, no matter if he's in null, no matter what. His leadership has shown so much throughout his 4 years, and I wish him nothing but the best. But Chase, If there was a picture of you in the dictionary, it would probably be leadership, so.
Director Smith. I'm Director Rising.
So I want to go back 2 years when I was first coming into WSG. I remember actually it was you and Doug who like welcomed me as I walked up the stairs because I was really nervous to do the whole appointment process. So I would say overall you're very welcoming, which is a reason that you're a great leader. And I also want to comment about how well-spoken you are. And I would say that I would aspire to be that well-spoken. And I think that that is really why, or part of the reason that you can advocate so well. It's just, you're very well-spoken.
So, knowing Mr. Zimmerman personally.
Senator Punzel.
Sorry about that. Knowing Mr. Zimmerman personally, I can say this. He, honestly, an amazing leader. You can always come up to him for advice. He'll always be willing to help you out. He knows exactly what to say and when to say it. And also his contributions to SUFAC and NALT are unrivaled. Simple as that. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to revisit content changes and change him to an emeritus member.
Motion needs a second.
Point of inquiry in this. Are you entertaining a motion or are you making a motion?
I would like to make a motion.
Okay, motion's been made. Looking for a second.
I'd like to second that, Mr. Speaker.
Wonderful. It's been seconded. The motion's on the floor. With that, we'll move into discussion. Is there any discussion on the matter? I'll let you start if you'd like.
All right.
Senator Punzel, you can start if you'd like.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, one thing we have to acknowledge is being the SUFAC chair. Probably one of the hardest jobs on campus. They have to allocate funds to every single organization here. With that in mind, he's done it flawlessly and has ensured these funds get to every single organization on campus. Not only that, too, handling NALT, me and the convener, oh my, I cannot talk today. Convener, thank you. That's also one of the most important positions on campus. So, I would actually recommend a vote in favor of upgrading him to emeritus status, based on those two qualities alone.
Senator Reed?
I believe it's a point of clarification. Would this be to label emeritus status on the bill, on his work in SUFAC, NALT, student government? What are we giving emeritus status to? Like what work? Because he's done so many things. Is it all of it? What would that title look like? Do you know, Senator Punzel, since you made the motion?
Yes. I believe it would be highly recommended to make him the emeritus chair of SUFAC.
Okay.
Senator Wheatman.
Then to that, I would urge a vote of aye, as his work has been very well done and he puts every foot forward and does well with that work. I think his work's very complimentary in that.
Parliamentarian person.
I must strongly urge the Senate to vote nay on this amendment. As we have just decided in a nearly unanimous vote, emeritus status must be conferred only for exceptional service, not simply being a successful SUFAC chair, being a remarkable SUFAC chair, so remarkable that you will be remembered long after your service has finished, so remarkable that you have fundamentally shifted the way something is done. I would like to read out a bit of the last SUFAC's chair honoring bill. And is it Coral? Sorry, I didn't know. Caparel, thank you. Katie Caparel serves students of the University of Whitewater, Wisconsin as segregated fees, University Allocation Committee, immense responsibility. Ms. Capole presided with honor over the committee during the extensive time commitment. Ms. Capole served with students with distinction, putting the needs of the student body over her personal interests, significantly contributing to the committee's success. Ms. Toro admirably stepped in the position of chair while continuing her ambitious academic goals, presiding over SUFAC with unwavering determination and dedication. what in that legislation is different from Mr. Zimmerman's legislation? I don't see a great deal of difference. I don't deny that Mr. Zimmerman has been a successful SUFAC chair. I do deny that he has been a emeritus worthy SUFAC member. His work is comparable to Ms. Caparelli's, and we should afford him the same privilege we afforded her. A bill honoring him, not anything grander. I believe that would stay in line with the Senate's previously stated position on emeritus status. So I would strongly encourage you all to vote nay on this amendment.
Deputy Speaker Petrie.
I appreciate your admiration for my work. Like, I do think Katie was a great chair. I also believe Chase is just that much better. I think out of any of the bills, out of any of the people we'll see tonight, or we will see this semester, the only person who would be worthy of emeritus, I think, is Chase. What he has done in SUFAC is unquestionable. It is spectacular. I could pull out so many verbs, but I'll let some other people chat here.
Nicole Curtis.
I know I don't get a say in this, but if we're talking about honorable versus remarkable, as SUFAC chair, Chase has not only done work to SUFAC and the University of Whitewater, but during this year he has also been included and has done remarkable work statewide, as our deliberations had to include some very touchy topics, and I won't get into it because Chase knows more about than me in that situation. But I believe that going statewide with this issue and talking to, governors and whoever about issues that arise during our deliberations, is more of a remarkable statement than a failure. He quite literally did change the future of SUFAC.
And I would like to echo that he changed the future. And when I was reading this bill, as Parliamentarian Irwin was saying, did you read it? What stuck out to you? I gotta say, on the fourth whereas, where it says, I'm gonna say it wrong, convener. Wow, I said it right. Of null. I had to Google that word. I've never heard that word before. It stuck out to me. It means lead. He led a committee through his work in SUFAC, and that's what's going to be remembered. We're going to hear his name probably 12 times each semester in this body during these meetings. Remember Chase Zimmerman's work in homecoming and all these things, and that's what earns someone the status of emeritus. And for SUFAC and his role in that, I would strongly encourage a vote of aye.
Chair Emeritus Schwarber.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it's important to, obviously avoid any semantics about words that are, being used, whether remarkable or exceptional, right? And as I posed for the last member that was under consideration for emeritus, right? Really consider what this individual has done, and just, really, you can't look at a person empirically, but empirically speaking, beyond leading a body, because that's what their duty is, that's what they get paid to do. When I was chair of SUFAC, I got paid to do it, just as the speaker gets paid to do his job here today. And so that is a great duty, and that deserves recognition, right? But the question that you must consider, as we did in the last, is what has changed? What was the big items that are going to stand out and make those impacts on the student body today and going forward? And I would argue that, and I'm not saying that this is all inclusive of Mr. Zimmerman here, because obviously you can see everything here, right? But leading a body does not constitute an emeritus. Leading non-eligible leadership committee does not constitute an emeritus. That's what their job is. That's the duty that they have taken. So I would just challenge the body to really think about this.
Senator Gold.
A point that I heard earlier was that we see growth from the previous chair to the next one. At the same time, I would personally argue that that's what we want. We want to see people building on top of each other, but that doesn't mean we can't just give mayor just because they've improved. As we move forward in years, because this government has been going on for a long time, I would hope that we've made considerable progress since where we were at least 100 years ago. But even then, I personally don't see the stepping stones, the stairway of success as a reason for emeritus, when it should be an inherent goal that we are improving above and beyond always.
President Bradley.
Sorry I had to step out, but I'm sure I can imagine what's been said. I think Chase is very deserving of the emeritus title, and for those of you who know my history with him and our history together, and you know that it should mean a lot. I think it's up to this body to determine what earns you emeritus status. There are folks with emeritus status who've received it for leading bodies, so that's something to consider. I think he's earned it, and I'd like to see it granted to him.
Terry and Erwin.
I would like to once again harken back to the vote the Senate just one ledge ago took, or two ledges technically, on Speaker Fadness. Speaker Fadness also led a body very well, very admirably for a year. Speaker Fadness also held other roles in the org, and Speaker Fadness also did things beyond the realm of the speaker, such as his work on parking. In my view, Speaker Fadness has legislation is very similar to Mr. Zimmerman's, which is in turn very similar to Ms. Katie's, the last SUFAC chair. There isn't anything here to draw a distinction between this ledge and other pieces of honoring ledges. Mr. Zimmerman was a SUFAC chair who served successfully and should be thanked through an honoring bill for his legislation, but anything beyond that, an emeritus title, for example, in my view, would be excessive and seemingly contrary to the bar this body has set for the title of emeritus.
Senator Keller.
Going off of parliamentarian Erwin, I think the vote that we did make very recently, I think it was 17-2, we used the logic of what has this individual done create change on the landscape that's going to be remembered for years. I think it wouldn't be a problem if we, it would be a problem if we use different logic in this situation, unless someone who is closer to the situation can point to that change that we will remember for years, which could very well be true. Then there may be reason to vote aye and make this an emeritus bill, but if not, it would be illogical to completely switch our tune from what we did 7 minutes ago.
I don't know how many of you have a packet from last week, but we had a couple NULT meetings a couple weeks ago, I think at this point. Whatever. Those were because of Chase, and I can't talk about what we discussed there, but there were some issues found in NULT that that are severe issues and are very critical and need to be addressed, that were not really on the radar last year, but are number one on our priority list this year, and that is because of Chase. And we'll continue being in the top 3 for the next decade, I assume, in our priority list due to Chase and in his influence.
So I would also like to mention, first things first, the constant mentions to how we voted the last time. just because we voted one way one time doesn't mean we always have to follow the same pattern. We're all individual humans. We can think for ourselves, meaning that you can make your own choice. Don't have to base it off of a past decision. However, one thing that is also of note, though, is while he is being recommended for emeritus as the chair of SUFAC, his contributions to numerous other aspects of the student body should also not be overshadowed. Being a homecoming chair, a U-League co-coordinator, Warhawk ambassador, being a fellow senator like ourselves, deputy speaker, and even being the vice chair of arguably one of the most important committees we have at this moment. All those are extremely important things that honestly, balancing all of them at the same time, I feel more than earns him the title of emeritus.
Vice President Day.
I have two more things before we move to vote or have further discussions. Jason not only was a leader, but he was someone who inspired not only myself, but it seems like many others in this meeting. The second thing to note is a lot of individuals in this room are saying that emeritus status is you have to make a change. But change isn't instant. Change starts with a little spark. And I believe Chase has started that spark. And with that, I'd encourage everybody to vote in favor of the emeritus ballot.
Speaker Emeritus Westland, is that a placard I see?
No,
I suppose it is.
It's like, really, you brought your old placard?
No, I thought about it. And then
That would have been impressive, that would have been impressive.
I know where they're at, of course I do. How would that happen? Anyways, no, what I want everybody to consider here for a minute is when it comes to what, Vice President Bannigan just said, is this. I sit 2 seats over from the last chairman emeritus, if I'm not mistaken, unless I missed something, of SUFAC. And why did Chairman Emeritus Schreiner get that sense? Chairman Emeritus Schreiner was instrumental in creating the NALT process. The word convener was his word that he came up with. He's the one who wrote that we changed that from the president for reasons such as just the president wasn't always the most knowledgeable person about NALT, right? Those are the lasting institutional impacts. It fundamentally changed why NALT, or in how we did that process from this process of basically just a president, in large parts, which had its benefits and it had its drawbacks. But I can point to countless institutional changes that the last chairman made. And yes, is change incremental? Absolutely, it is. And I'm sure there are other things like the Advancement Act that will continue to have its effects that Chairman Schreiner was a instrumental part in. But all of that is to say simply that change can be instrumental or it can be incremental, but it also happens at once, right? You recognize when it's happening and then you see the effects. And also, when we created emeritus status many years ago and then tinkered with it a couple times, because I'm that old, we looked at people who had changed the landscape, right? Charlie Putty had made the parking committee and had done several others. Tom Kind, the restructuring of the UW system with UW colleges, a bunch of different things. It changed the way e-board worked, and it was part of a constitutional referendum, if I'm not mistaken, about how the e-board is no longer voting senators. That was the thing once upon a time. So there was a lot of different ways that those people changed the landscape, and that's what I would, provide for context this evening, to whichever way this debate goes, is that's the things that got some of those people then. Your job is correct to decide, is any individual member now and forever worth that title, the highest honor that WSG can give out? That's the question before the Senate, and that's the context that comes into it.
Thank you, Emeritus. Director Smith?
I guess I have 2 points. My first thing would be that emeritus has been given to people who have led bodies before. If you consider a president emeritus, much of their accomplishments are in part because of the people that they lead. I'd ask you to consider that. The other thing I would say is that Chase has advocated on a statewide level to ensure that student organizations that were not going to get funding received funding. And that is not something that you generally see coming from a SUFAC chair, and is certainly something that goes above and beyond. There were student organizations that were not going to receive funding, and he advocated that they recognize that the First Amendment protected those students. and they received funding. So please consider that as something substantial and impactful to you and your peers.
So do we,
I make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
needs a second. Anyone interested in a second? Senator Estrom? Wonderful. With that, we can move into discussion on the recess if you'd like. Any points of discussion? Parliamentarian now?
Could we hear the reason for the motion?
Just to take a break, refresh, rethink thoughts, because I think there's been a lot of information and I'm not ready for a vote at the moment.
Any other discussion? Once, going twice? I think sometimes it's the job of a legislative body to, particularly on something so important, to bear through a hard discussion. I think that's what we're having. I understand if it feels like right now that the information isn't all there. The thing about government is sometimes once the time is right on Monday, you have to make the call when the clerk calls your name. And I think we're getting close enough. I mean, I invite the body to vote however they like, but I would encourage them to vote nay. And you can keep having this discussion. Senator Calvert?
I would like to echo the speaker's statement. I think that the information that we're looking for with this recess isn't going to come. Nothing new will be found. I'd also like to say it might be too quickly of a forward step to change this bill to emeritus. We can revisit that in the future without a penalty, but granting it now, I believe it would be a much tougher process to remove that label and a much more painful process.
I completely agree that when the Senate is having a difficult conversation, it's good to really buckle down and just push through
Point
it.
of order.
Go ahead.
A motion to recess is not debatable.
Yeah.
Under Robert's rules.
Oh, wonderful. With that, we're moving to a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Bolt.
Aye.
Senator Beasley. Aye. Senator Carter.
Nay.
Senator Irwin.
Aye.
Senator Estrom. Aye. Senator Gross.
Aye.
Senator Getzlaw. Senator Houston.
Nay.
Senator Keller.
Nay.
Senator Kiriakopoulos. Nay. Senator Majors.
Aye.
Senator Patricius.
Nay.
Senator Punzel.
Nay.
Senator Purnell.
Aye.
Senator Reavers.
Aye.
Senator Reyes.
Nay.
Senator Schmidt.
Nay.
Senator Wheaton.
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Nay.
I think so. 19.
No.
That's 10 to 9.
Wait, majority.
It's 10 to 9.
It's majority.
Just a moment, you have to finish what you're doing. Hold the thought, hold the thought, don't lose it.
This is like the one time you can't
In a vote of 10 to 9, we are taking a 5-minute recess. We'll be back at 8:52.
Listen, I like
Five.
Okay. I
know, I think There's someone pausing to WebEx.
Oh, there I am.
There you are. Of course.
Have a good day. Thank you. Senator of your own Russell. I thought a lot about what emeritus status means.
And to me, I think all we can do is assess the career that that person has had in the organization and to benefit students. I think it is more than clear that Chair Zimmerman deserves emeritus status, and I think he deserves it. Sure, because he led the CFAC body, and for those of you that know me, I was planning on saying this during his bill, not right now. But for those of you who know me, you know that I think forward a lot. I think a lot about what our body is going to look like, who the next blank will be, you might say. And when I think about who the next NALT convener will be, I shudder a little bit. Because I was in that room with Chase. And I think we're going to have a strong NALT next year. I really do. But whoever that convener is will not step up to the leadership that we had under Chase. He went to the state government for reasons that we can't talk about here, but went to the state government to lobby that students get the representation that they deserve, that our dollars go where they deserve to have gone. I think it's an obvious choice. Obviously, the body's open to make whatever decision they like. But of the people we've seen, not only tonight, not only this semester, not only last semester, quite literally since my second semester here, nobody has been more deserving of emeritus status in terms of what they've done in their career to serve students than Chase. Little card?
I call the question.
Is that debatable?
It is not. It is
No.
not.
Speaker. Not debatable?
No, he called the question, pardon me, parliamentary. Point of information, right, he called the question, he didn't move it, which means if anyone still wants to speak, all they have to do is object. And if someone wants to end debate, you would make the motion to move the question, it would be seconded, you would vote on it. If it passed, you move directly to a vote. That's how those two things work differently.
Understood.
Okay.
Who want to make that motion? We're entertaining a motion. Rapunzel.
No, it was a call the question, there was no objection.
Senator Rapunzel? I move the previous question. You're full with that. We need a second. Senator Carter?
Second.
Debatable? Is it debatable, Mr. Parliamentary? Non-debatable motion. So we will move into a roll call vote. Calling question. And clerk, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Point of information. What's vote of aye, what's a vote?
A vote of aye will be a vote of ending debate and moving immediately into a vote.
Senator Esterman? Aye. Senator Rose?
Aye.
Senator Drexler?
Aye.
Senator Houston?
Aye.
Senator Keller?
Nay.
Senator Giannakopoulos? Nay. Senator Major?
Can I abstain?
It's highly, you can pass if you need more time to think. We highly discourage senators from abstaining on any vote that does not pertain to their personal status.
That is a thing you can do.
Nay. 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 Senator Patricus?
Nay.
Senator Punzel?
Aye.
Senator Purnell?
Nay.
Senator Riebert?
Nay. Nay.
Senator Reyes?
Aye.
Senator Schmidt?
Nay.
Senator Wheaton?
Nay.
Speaker Wilson?
Nay.
Senator Bolt?
Nay.
Senator Beasley? Aye. Senator Carter?
Aye.
Senator Irwin?
Aye.
We're going to go to 10 to 9. We will continue discussion. Senator Keller.
Did Donis object? all anyone would have had to have done is say, I object, and the discussion would have continued. You know,
that kind of
it's almost me.
I think looking at how two-sided this discussion is, in my personal belief, I think we should vote nay. I think if someone is getting emeritus status, you would hope that that vote is highly, you would hope that that is a sentiment of the entire organization and there's not much disagreement. In this case, I don't know much about the situation. I don't know the individual that well. I'm a freshman. I've been in the org for 2 semesters. But this is clearly something that is not agreeable at this moment. And if in the future this change that may have started as a spark is more visible, then we should bring this conversation up again. But at the moment, I do not see enough to make this change. And I would urge the body to vote no.
Director Smith?
I would also remind you all that if you're unsure at this time and feel that more discussion needs to be had or a different bill needs to be submitted, you can table legislation. That is an option you can do. I'm not saying you should. I'm reminding you it is an option. If you feel that, I've heard arguments that the contents of the legislation do not support emeritus status. If you feel like that there should be legislation with contents that do support that, you can table.
Thank you. Just a quick clarification in case someone wants to make a motion. Tabling is usually a way of removing a bill from consideration. So if you wanted to make another new piece of legislation without voting on this one, tabling would be the way to go. If you wanted more time to consider, you might want to go with a motion to postpone and then set an exact time for when you want it to come, to be unpostponed. So just, there you are.
Senator Carter?
Point of information on Senator Geller's thing. If we vote for this bill, say just as it is now, we can't come back in the future and ask for emeritus. I've never been in this org while this happened, so I don't know if that's true.
My advice, or my perspective is that if the emeritus status was in this bill and you awarded it, I'm gonna look in 12.5 in a moment, because I can't remember if it's in there to remove it. I think it's 4th to remove the status, right? Thank you, Mr. Former Speaker, emeritus. Thank God I read it yesterday. Is that you do, there's a process that you go through. But the other part is you have to remember that general principle and practice is if you vote for something today and the body changes its mind or you get another piece of information or any of that stuff, you just ask the speaker for a motion to reconsider a decision on the previous motion. So that means next week you look at it. These are not options that I think you need to be considering right now. I think you need to focus on what's in front of you. But the answer is yes, you can do it, but there are specific ways that it has to be done. For this. Confirmed by the paper copy.
I think it is important to think about this list that we have in front of us of everything that Chase has done himself. And on top of that, as Director Smith had mentioned, he has advocated for several organizations to get the funding that they deserve. So while that doesn't pertain to you, that is something that means everything to those organizations. And for that reason and that reason only, he does deserve an emeritus.
Senator Houston?
Sorry, I revoke.
Senator Lowell?
Something that was previously stated around like the beginning of discussion, I believe, was that this was originally an emeritus bill and it was taken to a standard resolution honoring the service of Chase Lieberman. I think that in and of itself shows that there was a lot of consideration put into this bill and where it deserves to be.
Senator Bull, I would like to mention that while this may have been originally an emeritus bill, sometimes the past should stay in the past. We are here in the now to vote on whether to change it to emeritus or to keep it as a legislation of honor.
Parliamentarian Irwin?
I would just request that all comments are made to the chair and not to individual members.
Sounds good to me. Parliamentarian Rowe?
I just have to say, I think the arguments for voting against emeritus status seems overwhelming. The only current, as far as I'm aware, chair emeritus of SUFAC raised some very important questions about it. The only speaker emeritus also raised some important concerns about, what? He's not the only one? Really? A speaker emeritus raised some important points, casting doubt on whether or not this piece of legislation should go ahead. Mr. Zimmerman's, the only things that would distinct this from other past honoring resolutions like Speaker Fadness's and the past SUFAC chairs are mysterious accomplishments which can't be spoken about, and the Senate can't really deliberate on whether or not they merit emeritus. Perhaps in the future, when we are able to discuss those, we can return and discuss emeritus status, but for now, there's simply not enough here. And I would like to echo a few previous points. Every other time I have heard emeritus discussed, it has been overwhelming. There have been largely no voices of dissent for that decision. This time, we have had 20, 30 minutes, I'm not sure when the discussion started, but a great deal of debate over whether or not he deserves it, and that in and of itself shows that it is not warranted. If it was, it would be clear, it would be overwhelming, and we would be unanimous in our thinking. We are not, we are divided, and therefore, emeritus status should be put off and voted down today.
You guys are living your backwards.
Yes, it is, if the speaker may indulge me.
Indeed.
2.5, how many of you raise your hand if you've read 2.5 on the recess? 12.5.
Oh.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I think it's imperative, if those people are having trouble deciding. Each year, WSG will have the ability to confer emeritus status. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath from running to the back of the room. It's okay. Organizations who have gone well above and beyond their position in service to students. This is the highest honor a member of WSG can receive and is meant to confer the title for the member's lifetime. May it be long. As a recognition of their exceptional service, criteria of the award are below. 1, the member must have served at least 1 full year in WSG or a committee thereof. 2, the member must have served in a role that their title is conferred for at least 1 semester. Subnote 1, the title need not be one they currently possess, but they should be conferred with that title that they had the greatest impact to student experience in. 3, to become an emeritus member, WSG legislation naming them as such will have passed by a 3/4 vote of the Senate. If the legislation conferring this status does not pass, the emeritus conferral will be removed and the legislation will be re-voted on, needing a simple majority, meaning further recognition. Subsection 1, emeritus status can only be removed by a 4/5 vote of the Senate and should only be based on conduct unbecoming. 4, this honor should be conferred to no more than 3 members per academic year in normal circumstances with an absolute maximum of 5, and it should recognize only an exceptional few members of the organization. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you guys. Deputy Speaker for grievance.
I think that really speaks to what Chase is, especially the part of gone well above and beyond in the position to serve students. I think if you read the bill or all the statements made today, that clearly outweighs that.
Senator Houston.
Yeah, I feel like, even though some of the things he did with the state government are, kind of undefined, I feel like just we have a very great outline of all the accomplishments that Chase has done. And I feel that, from what we can, collect from what everyone has spoken about Chase, I feel that is more than deserving of emeritus status. And that, this piece of legislation does clearly emulate these accomplishments. So I am strongly in favor.
Any other discussion? Once, going twice, seeing none. In fact, we'll do a roll call vote on the amendment. The amendment is to confer emeritus status on the Bill R-2425-11 resolution honoring service of Chase Zimmerman to an emeritus status. Bill, it must pass by 3/4. With that, Sue Perez.
The amendment must pass by 2/3, and then the resolution conferring merit status has to pass by 2/4.
Wonderful. With that, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr.
Senator
Speaker.
Rose. Point of clarification.
Mr. Speaker, that's one back. When does the amendment read? I don't believe that has ever been stated.
The amendment was vague, and it's got to make sense.
That's a question for the clerk.
Yep.
The amendment.
That's her turn. Yeah, I didn't know that I did, so. I'm just to Didn't he clarify that he wanted
So-
the emeritus?
Talk amongst yourselves while they look and scan.
It seems, is that what I'm going with? Is that what I'm going with?
If I remember correctly, I asked the question to the senator who made the motion, and it was the emeritus chair of CPAC. I don't even know if that's something.
So I believe, if
The title.
I was mistaken, it may have been to reopen content changes, but I will allow for Rapunzel.
So, I'm actually the one that made the motion initially, so I did request to reopen content changes and then made the motion to change it to resolution conferring emeritus status of Chase Zimmerman as SUFAC chair.
You have jogged my memory enough to remember that you mentioned that to the body. It was.
Yes, I did. It was Senator.
I believe it was stated that we had moved past it. We could not go back. And then we decided.
Yeah.
That was Jack's.
Oh, wonderful. It's been a long night, couple of those.
Oh my god.
I wrote it down, you can set it.
Okay.
I would like to motion to revisit content changes and change to emeritus status.
Speaker Emeritus West.
Could I maybe propose somebody recommend this by, unanimous consent perhaps, that the language be changed to something very similar to the lines of that Chase Zimmerman shall forever be recognized as or therefore be it finally resolved and henceforth be it known that Chase Zimmerman shall forever be recognized as the chairman emeritus of the Segregated University Allocation Committee of Whitewater Student Government.
Looking for unanimous consent to amend the motion to that. Any object? Going once, going twice, seeing none.
Pull that from any emeritus thing.
Yeah.
It's in everyone.
Wonderful. With that, we will move into a vote on precisely that.
Point of inquiry, don't we then have to change the title of the bill?
Yes.
No, but it might, perhaps, you wouldn't have to, no. You can confirm.
No.
You can confirm
Never
it.
mind.
You can do that later if you found it fit.
Okay.
Alrighty, with that,
I
Madam
mean,
Clerk.
one question.
Okay, just so we're all clear again. A vote of aye is a vote in favor of adding precisely the line uttered by Speaker Emeritus Westlake to the bottom of this resolution. A vote of nay would be a vote against. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you please call the roll?
Senator Gross.
Nay.
Senator Gutzoff.
Aye.
Senator Houston.
Aye.
Senator Keller.
Nay.
Senator Kurakopoulos. Aye. Senator Majors.
Aye.
Senator Patricus.
Aye.
Senator Punzel.
Aye.
Senator Purnell.
Nay.
Senator Reber.
Aye.
Senator Reyes.
Aye.
Senator Schmidt,
Aye.
Senator Wheatman,
Aye.
Speaker Wilson,
Pass.
Senator Volt,
Nay.
Senator Beasley. Aye. Senator Carter,
Proud aye.
Senator Irwin,
Nay.
Senator Estermal,
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Aye. And with that, R 252411 resolution honoring the service of Chase Zimmerman has been amended at the very bottom to reflect exactly the words uttered by Speaker Emeritus. Wonderful. With that, we are back into discussion on the bill itself. To wrap, I think Chase is great. You should all vote aye, and I move to call the question.
Second.
Senator Polk.
Second your motion.
Wonderful.
Was not a motion.
Senator Carter?
I make a motion to call the question of.
Seconded by Senator Putnam. Any acclamation? Any voice vote?
Acclamation.
Any opposed? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none, with that, we're going to roll call vote on R 242511. Resolution honoring the service of Chase Zimmerman. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you please call the roll?
Senator Gottlieb,
Aye.
Senator Houston,
Aye.
Senator Keller,
Pass.
Senator Pierakopoulos. Aye. Senator Majors. Aye. Senator Patricus.
Aye.
Senator Punzel.
Aye.
Senator Purnell.
Nay.
Senator Reber.
Aye.
Senator Reyes.
Aye.
Senator Schmidt.
Aye.
Senator Wheatman.
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Pass.
Senator Volt.
Nay.
Senator Beasley. Aye. Senator Carter.
Proud aye.
Senator Irwin.
An emphatic nay.
Senator Estermal.
Aye.
Senator Gross.
Nay. Nay.
Senator Keller.
Nay.
Speaker Wilson.
Aye. How many names?
5 minutes.
Okay, wonderful. With that, R 242511 has passed in a vote of 14 to 5.
Mr. Speaker.
And emeritus status has not been conferred, given it has not reached the 3/4 margin. The resolution of thanks has passed, it has not reached the emeritus threshold. That is 3/4. 14 votes were ayes, 15 votes were 3/4.
Speaker Wilson, if I may, I'm just checking it right now. I believe we have to re-vote as a honoring bill without the emeritus.
Okay, wonderful. With that, we are re-voting on R 242511 without emeritus confirmed.
So just.
And we have discussion.
It's just considered.
Deputy Figure Pacheco.
So you're looking at the bill, I assume as written. The bill you have in front of you on the screen. That bill.
Really is pertinent to note now that we would have to do another re-amendment of the bill in this instance.
I don't think you can in this case.
Cannot amend it again in the same law.
Speaker Emeritus Wesson.
It's an automatic thing that's as it's written in 12.5.
Yep.
that it automatically amends and you'll re-vote upon the question without the emeritus provision that I had just spewed out before. So you're on that vote, you do not have to make an amendment, that's automatically what happens. So
Understood. Thank you very much. Any other discussion? Going once, going twice, seeing none. With that, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? Point of inquiry.
Point of
Senator
clarification.
Gross,
What are we voting on?
we are voting on the bill, just as it is in front of you right now.
Okay,
To honor Chase Zimmerman.
and then I is to,
I is to honor the services of Chase Zimmerman.
The bill in front of you,
Okay.
this is what you're voting on.
thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Senator Houston,
Aye.
Senator Kelleher,
Aye.
Senator Kourakopoulos. Aye. Senator Majors. Aye. Senator Patricus,
Aye.
Senator Punzel,
Aye.
Senator Purnell,
Aye.
Senator Reber,
Aye.
Senator Reyes,
Aye. Aye.
Senator Schmidt,
Aye.
Senator Wheaton,
Aye.
Speaker Wilson,
Pass.
Senator Bolt,
Nay.
Senator Beasley,
Aye.
Senator Carter,
Aye.
Senator Irwin,
Nay.
Senator Esterholm,
Aye.
Senator Gross,
Aye.
Senator Guslau,
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Aye. Vote 17-2, R 24-2511, resolution honoring the service of Chase Zimmerman has passed.
Well, I greatly appreciate you all taking the last 2 hours of your life to discuss the future of the emeritus program. I hope you genuinely consider that the person is, I don't know, a divine soul who gets it. But I would encourage all of you to reflect upon, exactly what just happened there. But, tying it all up, I am appreciative of the bill. I love my time here. It was good. It taught me a lot. I was glad to be able to make the impacts that I could make in what little time I've had in campus. It feels like it flew by very quickly. I think if you're a new senator, some of you stated this is your first time seeing a maritime bill or even discussing the possibility of maritime. I think a lot of people in here have never even voted on a maritime bill before. So this would have been your first time considering something like that, or second time, I guess, if you consider Jack. But, we know that. But what I'm saying is, find your purpose, because if your purpose is to fight through legislation and to fight through the standing rules, then you have no purpose, and you are effectively not serving any students by just looking through the standing rules. In student affairs, you have to find ways to bend the rules to serve students. We do that every day in SUFAC and in NALT. That's not to say we don't follow the rules. That's to say we find out the best way to support every student on campus. And if that means treading through the gray area, then you tread through it, happily. If that means you consult with system legal, if that means you call the higher ups, if that means you go through every hoop and bound to do that, then you do it. And if that means pushing the SUFAC allocation thing back a week, which rarely happens and obviously indicates some serious issues with hearing and eligibility, then we do that, because that's what we're charged to do as student leaders. To do the right thing by everybody in the room. Doesn't matter if you agree with what the groups are asking. I can personally say I didn't agree with everything that the groups were asking, but they're groups nonetheless, and they're students nonetheless. So they have a voice just as much as anybody else does. And I was lucky enough to be in a position where I could affect that change, and you are all in a great position right now where you can affect change. It doesn't matter if you're a director. It doesn't matter if you're on Senate leadership. It doesn't matter if you're the president. You can do whatever you want as a senator. Sometimes, often, the most powerful position in the room is being a senator, is to voting on things like this, setting precedent. So, what you all just did here tonight, don't forget it. Go home and be charged with what you just did, because it's a good representation of the things we can do and the precedent we can set, but also, you spent 2 hours of your life deciding whether or not somebody deserves an emeritus status, rather than talking about changes that could actually benefit students. And that's the truth, right? It benefits me. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I'm a student. It benefits me. But also, there are a billion other things you could have talked about, and the billion other things that I worked on with NALT, and I worked on with SUFAC, in conjunction with other folks in the room. All you have to do is have an idea, speak up about it, and raise some attention to it. Anything can happen. Speaker Fatness, former Speaker Fatness is a great example of that. He hated the parking. He hated how mean they were. He hated how many tickets he got. So he said, hey, I know I don't have to be in the room about this, but I want to be in the room about this because I care about this and I can make some change. So that's what he did. And that's what I would encourage every single one of you to do. If you're a freshman, if you're lucky enough to be a freshman, this is the greatest place to be to affect that change. And hey, you know what? If you're not a senator, you can do just as much change too. I worked as homecoming, worked as a Robert Master, I worked as ULEAD, and I was able to change arguably more lives doing those things than I ever did as a senator or in the room, right? So think about the ways that you can be involved and the way that you can help people that are not in this space, that are not spending 2 hours talking about the interpretation of an emeritus member, that are not spending 2 hours amending bills, you know? That's not the point of this org. While we need to do those things to make sure we can actually support people, and we can do that job, the rules are important, they're not the end-all be-all. The end-all be-all is whether or not you're helping somebody. All that to say, really enjoyed this spirited discussion. Even though I did not get emeritus status, I think it's, you know, at the end of the day, I feel grounded in the work that I've been able to do and the change I've been able to affect in the little areas that I've been able to, or even in the big areas, like ensuring the First Amendment is properly followed in our org recognition policy, and just being able to ensure everybody has a voice in that specific setting. Yeah, thanks so much for the time, and hopefully your next few bills don't take as long as mine did. But I'm gonna go, it's my past my bedtime, and I have like 2 essays to write, so thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmer.
Yep.
Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Super Chair Harris Schweiner. Thank you, Senator Leader Russell. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, the both of us. All righty, folks. Wasn't that a time? We are on to, we're still in new business. We're on to the SUFAC 1-year appointment, Lofton Reber. Lofton, if you join me up here, would you? I'm passing the gavel officially over to Nick Retreat.
I have full faith in you.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, could you just remind people how this works, that there's a motion to approve that needs to happen in the floor in a second after they make whatever comments they're gonna say?
I don't remember a motion ever being made before.
Endorsement, whatever, there's gotta be something, if it's an appointment, just so that people acknowledge that the appointment's been made. If you don't wanna do that, that's your call. I just wanna make, there are a fair number of folks that weren't here. Oh, yeah. But it's okay, just so people know how what they're supposed to do.
Gavel's in your hands, buddy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's okay. Just so everybody, how about this? Let me back up, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Here's the deal. There are appointments that are made to the SUFAC that are made, right, that have been made by your speaker. That's what's being presented to you, okay? If you want to take action on it, you actually can, but you are not required, is what I'm hearing.
We'll vote on it, but you don't need a motion to vote on it. That's what's on the agenda.
Yeah. You don't need a motion to vote on it.
Go for it. Go for it. I don't want to burn any more of your time.
All righty, we'll keep this super quick. You've heard a lot about SUFAC tonight, which is good, which it feels like a smooth transition into talking about precisely what SUFAC is. And I'm not going to bore you with all that, but what I will do is speak to how good of a candidate I think Lofton Reber would be to be the appointment to SUFAC. He, I think just in a short time here, has demonstrated an element of conscientiousness that I think is super valuable to SUFAC. And what that means to me is somebody who walks in, is pragmatic, gets the job done, does tasks when they need to do it. That is Lofton Reber to me in the short time I've known him. He's in the PGL department, so a little shout out to the PGL department. What is on the floor tonight is we'll get to vote to approve him as the appointment to SUFAC. Lofton, if you have anything that you'd like to say, you're welcome, but otherwise, you don't.
I just want to say, Smith, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on this committee. I love finances, personal finances in general, so I'm really excited to do that on a bigger scale. And I'm really excited to learn about the whole process and do everything.
With that, we yield to questions. Mr. Deputy Speaker.
Are there any questions for the appointee? I will actually start with the first one. What is SUFAC? It's an acronym. What's it stand for?
So SUFAC stands for Segregated University Fee Allocation Committee.
Oh, alright. With that, other questions? We'll go to Parliamentarian Irwin.
What relevant experiences do you have that would prepare you for a seat on this committee?
I don't necessarily have anything that's directly linked to a SUFAC position, but I'm more than happy to learn, and I'm super excited to be able to learn and give the opportunity to learn. But I think that my time in WSG will kind of help with that as well.
Senator Houston?
What is one thing that you want to change across campus that you feel SUFAC might help lead towards your goals?
I actually had a conversation that I guess I just want to make a place. I want to make this university a place where everybody feels heard and everybody feels like they got a genuine shot. So even if your organization didn't get the funding that you wanted to when you came in, I want you to feel that you got a genuine shot at it.
Senator Majors?
What experience and insight do you think you'll bring to this committee?
I'm a little different. I'm a community student, so I don't have a whole lot of interaction with a lot of the clubs and organizations that we're going to be going over. I'm more just going to have what I have in front of me, which is different than other people who live on the university and have constant interaction up here. So I guess that.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we move into Senator Houston, last one.
If you could be any tool in a toolbox, what tool would you be?
I think I answered this one as a screwdriver last time, and I'll probably stick with that answer because it's like a multi-tool. You can use it for multiple things. But.
All right, that's the last question. With that, we'll move into a roll call vote. Vote of aye is to approve the nominee, and vote of nay is to not approve. SUFAC, this will be a simple majority. Madam Clerk, whenever you're ready, please call roll.
Senator Culliver,
Aye.
Senator Kourakopoulos,
Aye.
Senator Majors, aye. Senator Petrikis,
Aye.
Senator Punzel, Senator Purnell,
Aye.
Senator Reber,
I abstain.
Senator Reyes,
Aye.
Senator Schmidt,
Aye.
Senator Wheaton,
Aye.
Speaker Wilson,
Aye.
Senator Bolt,
A happy aye.
Senator Beasley, aye. Senator Carter,
Aye.
Senator Irwin,
Aye.
Senator Esterholm, aye. Senator Groves,
Aye.
Senator Gutzoff, Senator Houston,
Aye.
Senator Punzel,
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Aye.
And then the SUFAC one-year Senate appointment as Lockton Reserve has been approved unanimously. Moving on to item 6, SUFAC two-year appointment as Keith Houston. Same process for this one. I will note this is for a 2-year appointment, so instead of one academic year or fiscal year, Mr. Speaker, whenever you're ready.
Howdy folks, same deal, except this is Heath Houston. I would say pragmatic as ever, but more than that has had some time serving on the body, has already met lots of the folks who are likely to be serving with, not only in the WSG context, as is met now appointed member of SUFAC, Lofton Reber, but more importantly, lots of the folks who were a part of the SUFAC deliberations over the last semester. So I think Heath is extremely ready to continue his service to the body. And Heath, you're welcome to say anything if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I mean, it's been a long night, but yeah, I'm excited to continue working with SUFAC, have had a great time so far. I've learned a whole lot, in this semester, and I'm honestly not much more I can say. I just want to continue the hard work and just keep up with the students.
You.
Are there any questions? I'll take the first one. I'll take the first one. Mr. Houston, what is SUFAC? It's an acronym. What's it stand for?
Segregated University Fee Allocation Committee.
Alrighty, any questions, Senator Bull?
You've been serving on SUFAC for a while now. What have you learned?
Yeah, so great question. I kind of just came into the meetings just sort of, kind of just being there, I'm like just sort of like observing, and now I've actually gotten to work with actually sort of having my own voice and like being able to represent students on my own accord, and I can honestly say I've learned a lot about how the policies have worked just by reading the rules and just how the whole process works. That's honestly all I can say.
Any other questions? Senator Majors?
If you have seen how that committee works, what would be your continued goals as you serve a 2-year term?
Yeah, so honestly my goal is just to continue reading on the policy and also just learning, like, not only kind of figuring out where I fit in the committee, but also just being able to just honestly better the experience of students on campus.
Seeing no other questions, Senator Beasley.
If you were a tool in a toolbox, what tool would you be?
All right, glad you asked. I'm gonna go for the unique answer. I'm gonna say I'm gonna be the handle of the toolbox, which provides support and being able to lift up everyone else with you.
Any other questions for our SUFAC 2-year appointment? Seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote. It'll be same process for the ayes to approve, for the nays to not approve. Majority. Yep. All that. Madam President, are you ready?
Senator Chiricopoulos. Aye. Senator Major.
Aye.
Senator Rodriguez.
Aye.
Senator Punzel.
Aye.
Senator Purnell.
Aye.
Senator Weaver.
Aye.
Senator Reyes.
Aye.
Senator Schmidt.
Aye.
Senator Wheatman.
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Pass.
Senator Bolt.
Aye.
Senator Beasley. Aye. Senator Carter.
Aye.
Senator Irwin.
Proud aye.
Senator Esterholm.
Aye.
Senator Groves.
Aye.
Senator Gutzoff.
Aye.
Senator Houston.
Abstain.
Senator Kelleher.
Aye.
Speaker Wilson.
Aye. One extension.
The appointment passes. Alright, moving into the UC facility use policy. I believe for this one, you're looking for just an endorsement, we're not approving it.
Is in your packet?
In your packet, but I believe you're not approving this, you're just endorsing. And I believe no amendments to this one with it.
Okay, so hi, I'm Jan Bogan. I'm the Director of Student Activities and Involvement. I serve as part of the UC leadership team. This policy was originally written 3 years ago, and I think 3 years ago, right? Justin's in the room. He's my brain for a lot of that. Basically, you're looking at a revised version that does really two things. It updates some structural changes to change the title of some of the people that participate in this process. And it also it changed the schedule for fees to non-students for when they use the university center. So if you, President Bradley's been so kind to just scroll through this. You can see here's 2 title changes, right? We're just gonna scroll all the way through it. A couple typos, it's all in red. You got this packet electronically so you can follow along if you'd like. They also did some additional language to help people understand how to get an exception to a policy. And the timelines of who gets to reserve what when was also added. If you look under 3, this is the second part that I talked about. Any equipment services are set up outside, right? The addenda schedules will require a memorandum of agreement, or understanding. So if you were gonna do something significantly larger or in a different location, it would have to be documented at the Emergency Center. And I think if you just scroll through, you can go all the way down to the part that talks about the schedule. So as you can see here, the suggestions and changes are in red. So basically, they are raising how much it costs for outside folks that do not pay your over $300 here to have the University Center be in place for students. These are all changes. There are no changes or increase of any kind to any student use of the facilities as are outlined in the document. There were folks, students that were involved in this conversation with the Director of Operations, Events, and with that, I'll yield to questions.
Any questions for Advisor Logan?
On behalf of the University Center, I would appreciate a motion to endorse the policy as provided to the Senate.
It's on the agenda, we don't need a, I mean, it's not on the agenda.
Just one sentence.
We do not need a motion, we're good.
Okay.
We are good. Any questions? Going once, going twice, seeing none, without moving to a roll call vote on approval of the UC facility, endorsement of the UC facility use policy. Madam Clerk, when you're ready, would you please call the roll?
Senator Major? Aye. Senator Patrica?
Aye.
Senator Punzel?
Aye.
Senator Purnell?
Aye.
Senator Reber?
Aye.
Senator Reyes?
Pass.
Senator Schmidt?
Aye.
Senator Wheaton?
Aye.
Senator Wilson?
Pass.
Senator Holt?
Aye.
Senator Beasley? Aye. Senator Carter?
Aye.
Senator Irwin?
Aye.
Senator Esterl?
Aye.
Senator Gross?
Aye.
Senator Gussoff?
Aye.
What was that?
Aye.
Senator Houston?
Aye.
Senator Kelleher?
Aye.
Senator Firakopoulos?
Aye.
Senator Reyes?
Aye.
Speaker Wilson?
Aye. And with that, the UC facility use policy has been approved unanimously. Endorsement. We don't have to talk for that one, it's not really. All right. With that, we are on to the unofficial 2025 election results. Madam Clerk, the floor.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. So if you turn to the back 2 pages of your packet, you will see the election results. The first picture provided is the votes of the Bradley Bailey slate and the Smith Patrica slate. The Bradley Bailey slate got a total of 369 votes. Smith Patrica got 159, and then there's a total of 21 write-ins. And then the referenda is underneath, and there was 4 questions, which they all passed. And then if you go to the next page, you can see the little outline, per se, that was given to me by Chase Zimmerman, because I was getting kind of confused with all the numbers. And he put down how many people voted from each residence hall. Well, it's listed, residence halls. And then from there,
What's in your packet?
in your packet, it shows, because then from there, we went and found out how many people voted from each district. And you can also see the names of all the write-ins, and then also the referenda and how many votes were from each district. So, these are the unofficial results. With that, I yield.
Wonderful, with that, we'll move into discussion. It's just a discussion on approving the unofficial elections. Once they're unofficial now, we will go to a vote, and if a vote of ayes cast, we will approve it. Any discussion? Senator Houston?
Whether or not you agree with the results of the election, I encourage everyone to vote aye.
Indeed. Any other discussion? Going once, going twice, seeing none. With that, we are, Senator Ball?
I guess I'll just quickly say that, thanks for sticking in there, everybody. I know that sometimes, it can be a little rough with big elections and we can't talk about office, so props to everybody making sure we follow these rules.
Any other discussion? Going once, going twice, seeing none. With that, we are going into a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, are we ready? Please call the roll.
Senator Patricus?
Aye.
Senator Punzel?
Aye.
Senator Brunel?
Aye.
Senator Reber?
Aye.
Senator Reyes?
Aye.
Senator Schmidt?
Aye.
Senator Wheaton?
Aye.
Speaker Wilson?
Pass.
Senator Bolt? Aye. Senator Beasley? Aye. Senator Carter?
Aye.
Senator Irwin?
Aye.
Senator Esterholm?
Aye.
Senator Rhodes?
Aye.
Senator Gussoff?
Aye.
Senator Houston?
Aye.
Senator Kelleher?
Aye.
Senator Kirakopoulos? Aye. Senator Majors?
Aye.
Speaker Wilson?
Aye. With that, the unofficial 2025 election results have been approved unanimously, and thus they have become the official 2025 executive election results. Wonderful. With that, we will move onward. Moving around. Is it customary to let them speak? I don't know how that works.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
All right, good. With that, we're on to announcements. Any announcements? Deputy Speaker.
So with the constitutional amendments, I sent out the updated constitution today. Now it's officially the constitution, so you all have it in your email.
Senator Carter? Senator Carter?
Real fast, tomorrow's the succulent art workshop. You can come decorate your own pots, get a plant. It's my second to last UC Live event that I will be hosting, so it would be nice to have most of you there.
President
I have two announcements. One, please RSVP for the gala. It is in your email. Everybody in this room has been invited. If you did receive an email, it's on the alumni Facebook page. With some folks in the gallery. That's due the 28th, 5 p.m. You need to RSVP if you want to attend. That's how the RSVPs work. Please RSVP. If you have questions, let Parker and I know. Number two, positions are open for the e-board. So if you wish to apply, it's under Connect 2, under surveys and forms. If you have any questions, again, reach out to Parker and I, but we'll be accepting those for a couple weeks.
Vice President
You will be getting an email from Speaker Wilson after this meeting for Senator of the Year form. Everybody, please fill that out. And then once again, two reminders, if you did the oath today, see me afterwards. And if you need a binder, also see me after.
From downtown, Director Smith.
It's on us week. If you haven't taken the pledge yet, you'll notice that taped in the window of the office is a QR code you can scan to take the pledge. There's events every day this week. The campus denim day is the 24th this week, so we're denim on the 24th. The worldwide denim day is on the last Wednesday of the month, so it'll be next week Wednesday is also denim day. So you got 2 days that are great days to wear denim.
Speaker Westlake.
Well, hi. If you're thinking it's late for this meeting, my last meeting I gave a 20-minute speech at the end of a 4.5-hour meeting. So, don't think that 9:47 even remotely faces. But I won't do that too long. I was, going to talk about, Speaker Wilson's currently having cold sweats and all kinds of things. But, no, the thing I was actually going to come in and say, which is kind of timely, ironically, but it had nothing to do with anything tonight, was this. It's been a while since I've been back in this room. It's good to see some very few familiar faces, but I feel just ever so slightly younger now. And I'm not very young, my hair is getting quite gray these days, so that's that. But, the real thing I want to talk about is this. What you all continue to do here is important, absolutely. And it isn't about titles, although we talked a heck of a lot about them tonight, ironically.
but I know Chairman Zimmerman and everybody sitting over here as well knows that we don't do this work for a title and that you don't need a title to do this work. And both of those are equally as important as one another. It isn't about whether you're just a senator or a director on the board of some sort, a clerk, a speaker, a president. None of it matters. You have roles and responsibilities in a rule book, sure. But you can impact the student experience in this room, outside of this room, just by telling someone that they matter and by hearing them out for a few minutes. So don't ever forget that power, especially as you go into next year. I know there's a lot of you that are fairly young and have quite a bit of time left. In fact, even administrations are, I can now say, same. So keep that in mind as you go into the summer. It's always kind of a strange time when it's halfway through the Senate term, but it's going into the summer break. And come back with a couple ideas for what you can do, because if you put your mind to it, you can do almost anything in this room. And I know that sounds cliche, but I can tell you through 5 years and 105 Senate meetings it was, that you can do a lot more than you ever go to. So that was all I wanted to say. I'm over at Bullion Hall, I'm complex director over there these days. If anybody ever wants to chat, there's a few of you that have some frequent flyer miles, the speaker, the speaker, who was, 3 doors down from me. And yeah, but other than that, I really want to say hi, come by, we can chat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Chair Emeritus, Matt Schweiner.
Yes, thank you everyone for welcoming me back tonight. It's great to be back. I just want to send out a heartfelt congratulations to everyone that's graduating this semester, if there's anyone in the room. It really is a big accomplishment, and it's something that, you're going to look back at your time here and on the Senate, and your time on campus, and those are memories that will hold true for a long time. And so just really, enjoy your time, your last couple weeks here, finish finals strong, and as someone that's graduating with their MBA, I can't wait to be done. But I do miss my time here, and it was great to contribute a little bit tonight. But I promise I will stay out of everyone's hair for the rest of this year until the gala. So take it easy.
Thank you. He doesn't plan on talking about training at all. Big reviews.
All right. Oh, Director Emeritus, McFeely.
Sorry, one more thing, or actually 2 things. First of all, somewhat unrelated, club org recognition is currently live, so if you have anybody who is looking to bring back a club next year or wants to start a new club, now is the time to do that. I'm happy to help. Our office is happy to help. Student activity involvement downstairs. Let's actually have Nathan over here. Was able to start his club. He just asked some questions and the ball got rolling, so I encourage you all, if you're thinking of anything, now is the time before May 15th. And then also, I just want to echo what they said over here. Unfortunately, I haven't had the pleasure of getting to know with and talk with all of you, but the few people I've had that had that pleasure with, I've seen phenomenal things, phenomenal growth. I just want to encourage you all, whether I've gotten to meet you or barely have seen you at all, I want to encourage you to keep growing, keep learning, keep asking questions. That hunger is what drives growth in this organization, what grows you as a person beyond it as well. I know that sounds super cheesy, but one of the things that I've come to learn and get really better at being an introvert on top of that is just asking those questions, having confidence in yourself, and on top of that, just straight up networking. I know that sounds cheesy as well, but I found that some of the best moments that I had when I learned were the times when I took the time to get to know other people that I had really nothing in similarity with. I got to know them, got to become good friends with them. I encourage you to find some time with peers that you both know and don't know. Grab an age-appropriate drink and find some time to talk and learn some stuff. So I hope that helps. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any other announcements? Going once, twice, seeing none. With that, we are on to the ever-present adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Senator Gross.
To adjourn.
Seconded by? Oh, Senator Major! Can I get a voice vote?
Acclamation.
Oh, seeing none, right here. Mr. Speaker!
My alarm goes off at 3:30 tomorrow morning. I haven't.
Yeah.
tomorrow. I'll send it your way. It's one that's been sitting. I'd like to start the run.
Not
because I way back. I kind of gave. Do you have a mic? Oh.
I do not.
Duty on the week. First run and then. But yeah, let me know if you ever need coaching or like. I think I showed you the division. Really good. Got binders yours for some reason. There's a good someone of your, yeah, you should.
Yeah, with you too. Why would you?
Somewhat in the right direction, whether it with search and devices, whatever. Yes. What we do?